Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Commissioner, the floor is yours. Tony, do you have any comments?
The floor is yours, Commissioner. Gonna be a long one. I can just follow this here.
Pleasure to see you today. So you can go ahead and start and sort of lead us through, and we have copies of all the slides. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Appreciate it.
Do we? Oh,
Yes, Taylor said yes.
would you like a hard copy? Some of us still like paper with that. Good morning. We'll get started. Senator Austin, Representative Walker, I know Senator Berthel, Representative Nucci, and members of the Appropriations Committee. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today with my team to both share information that you've requested and also to answer the questions that you've presented to us. You have our slide deck in front of you. You see our opening slide is our Unlocking Lifelong Potential, which is our theme in education this year, and we're pleased that we're continuing to do that. The next slide is our education landscape, which should become familiar because I do always put in front of you the context of all our students and staff, the demographics of our education system, public education system here in Connecticut. So that's what you have. It's a reminder of our landscape or numbers of students, the student groups, educated districts, and programs that we have. This is all from our EdSite data portal. And what I always encourage folks to do, you can create this for your own district as well or for your constituency. So you do have that information. Before we jump into the data, which I know you're eager to get into, I just ask your indulgence for a few minutes. Since this is the Appropriations Committee, we're sharing information that should be welcome news by all. Last Thursday, we released the results from the 2024-2025 accountability system, where we see statewide partnerships and targeted investments continuing to drive measurable results. I appreciate Representative Walker was in the space with us as we did that on last Thursday. And I'm just going to have Ajit Gopalakrishnan really, really high level, just to give you that good news and to share how your investments and so appreciative of what you've done in investing in programs that are working and bringing us results. So Ajit, high level.
Thank you, Commissioner. We shared the assessment and absenteeism results in August, and then last week we released the full accountability results, which included all our indicators, including things like on track to high school graduation, readiness for post-secondary education, et cetera, and physical fitness as well. And the overall scores went up, but we highlighted in particular the investments in expansion of dual credit programs where students in high school can earn college credit before they graduate. It's not only an affordability strategy with a solid return on investment, but it's also a preparedness strategy because the evidence shows that students who do this kind of work in high school are ready for life after high school and succeed in that next steps. We're seeing improvements across the board, including in our students eligible for free or reduced price meals, significant increases in the percentages. We still have a long way to go, but significant improvement. Several thousand students across the board accessing these dual credit courses. There's positive press coverage that also resulted from this in the Mirror, Channel 8, CT Insider, et cetera. We're pleased that reporters are still following and covering this. We had 3 high school districts represented. We had East Haven, Vernon, and Milford. And I included some quotes from the superintendents and the news articles, but also 2 students who came with us, 2 high school seniors who talked about what taking such courses has meant for them, given them greater confidence and really given them a sense of what the field is about. Importantly, these dual credit courses can be academic or career oriented. And one of the students actually spoke about wanting to become a radiology technician and how the courses have helped. The purpose of the accountability system is also to recognize schools that are doing well and schools that need our help. So we recognize 140 schools of distinction for a variety of reasons: overall high performance, high growth, including high academic growth for our students with high needs. We also identified 72 schools for state support. These are schools that need our help and our attention and our support. 46 for turnaround, which are comprehensive assistance, and 26 focus schools receiving targeted supports. The good news also is that 10 schools that were previously identified have now exited their identification, again, showing evidence of progress at a school level within districts. So overall, good news. We're pleased with things heading in the right direction. I mean, I'll be the first to acknowledge we still have a ways to go, but I think we're making the right investments in terms of dual credit. The legislature, in partnership with the governor, we have allocated $6 million as an annual appropriation starting in the second year of the biennium. And that's going to continue these efforts, which have been spurred so far with COVID relief funding. And even there, I thank the legislature for the ARPA funding dedication for the expansion of dual credit. So I think our investments are paying off, and we need more. And we're happy to see the evidence really back that up. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Again, just wanted to start with that. It's good to see that there's a return on investment. So we wanted to share that with you since we had your attention this morning. So moving now into our federal funding, I wanted to start off on the next slide, and we'll quickly go to the nutrition funding, but just wanted to have for you all in one spot in the next slide, the Department of Education funding that we have received, and it is all the entitlement awards. As you see, $391.7 million that we have, and as of this morning, because I'm checking regularly, as of today, that we continue to access without any interruptions all the entitlement funds that's been awarded to Connecticut from the Department of Education. So no issues there at all that we're seeing in getting those funds in and getting those out to our districts as needed. So now moving to nutrition, my pleasure to introduce John Frasinelli, who is a Division Director for Health, Nutrition, and Family Services. In John's role, he oversees all the child nutrition programs, which includes our school nutrition program that John will dive into for you. I should also share with you that just in summary, and we share that with our superintendents this morning, that we also are getting those funds in for our nutrition program, and we'll go into the details. The September, it's a reimbursement program. And so the September meals that were claimed under the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs, they've been processed for payments, and that is happening right now. So we're paying out what they submitted for what they served in September. We also are, of course, October just ended, and we have the resources necessary. When those claims come in, we have received that money from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to support the reimbursement for the October claims that will be coming into us. And those will be paid out in late November, early December. And we also now have access to the resources to pay out the November claims that will come into us in December. So just really wanted to level set for that, and then we'll go into the details. So I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So on this slide, you see all of the child nutrition programs that the State Department of Education administers or partners with. Many of them, I'm sure you're familiar with. The National School Lunch Program, you can see these are annual numbers, the number of meals served, and the federal funding provided for reimbursement for those programs. We have 171 districts participating in the school lunch program with over 1,000 sites serving meals. The school breakfast program also is part of the federal meals programs. 163 districts participate with over 970 sites serving meals. Important to note that the state provides a little over $2 million to support school breakfast in Connecticut, and that results in about $2,700 per school per year to support school breakfast. The Child and Adult Care Food Program, you'll see the number of meals served and the reimbursements for that. That program is an interesting program. It obviously includes childcare centers, but it also includes family daycare homes. It also includes a number of other programs, one of which is the at-risk supper program. So as we're looking to make sure that students have meals, many of the at-risk supper programs happen at schools. So a child can get breakfast, lunch, and supper at schools. At over 172 sites, that at-risk supper program participates. And we also, you might be surprised to know that we have 12 adult care centers that we provide meals to, as well as 3 emergency shelters that we also provide meals to. Sponsors are, as I mentioned, include schools, childcare centers, but also include Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, churches, and emergency shelters.
So, you're all done right now?
Wait a minute, could you
So-
just repeat that? I'm sorry, but
I-
how many children, boys and girls clubs or whatever?
I can get you the number of Boys and Girls Clubs, but they all sponsor these either childcare at risk. We have at-risk supper programs. We have at-risk after-school snack programs. We have an adult care food program and an emergency shelter food program. So there are 12 adult care, 3 emergency shelters, and a number of YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs that provide those.
So today we are,
Your mic is not on, Tony.
sorry, so as of today, we are at where we're supposed to be, like we were last year.
Yes,
Okay.
Yep. exactly.
Senator Austin.
I have a number of questions just on this one slide here, the slide that's talking about the National School Lunch Program. So you have, we have 202 school districts and you have 171 participating districts. Is that what it is?
That's right.
And that's for the school lunch and the school breakfast program? Is that how that works, or is that just school lunch?
That's just school lunch.
Okay, and how many do you have that are participating in the school breakfast program?
163.
100 and what?
63.
And then the child adult care food program, is this the at-risk program?
It includes childcare programs, family daycare homes, at-risk supper meals programs.
Do you have the list of the schools that are participating or the organizations that are participating in this that you could send to us so that we can
Absolutely.
see what that is? So we'll get a list from you on that. Summer meals program, this is traditionally the end of June, July, and August program.
Yes.
And how many summer meals programs are there around the state?
There usually, last summer, there were about 675 sites that were serving meals. Many serve both breakfast and lunch.
The food distribution program is related to,
That's a school program. It's essentially a line of credit that each school district gets. It's the federal government, USDA, purchases products on the open market at a discount and then makes them available to schools. So depending on the number of lunches served in the prior year, each district will get an award of, say, $30,000 or $100,000 that they can then go into the USDA system and identify commodity foods that they can get at a reduced price.
and
Much,
I'm sorry,
no, just much
continue.
less expensive than buying the same product on a commercial market.
correct.
Sorry.
But can you send us the distribution of that by district so that we can see it?
Sure.
And is it by district or is it by school?
By district.
Okay, thank you. And then the local foods for schools incentive program,
Yes.
can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. The LFSIP, there's a federal component,
Yep,
and we have currently $1.8 million for the federal component, and that funding expires in June of 2026. To date, 1.2 million has already been spent, and districts are continuing to submit claims for reimbursement. The federal program, as does the state program, reimburses if you buy something from Connecticut, a Connecticut farm, Connecticut local, you get reimbursed at 50%. If you buy something from a regional state, including New York, like New England and New York, then you get 33 cents to the dollar on reimbursement.
So outside the state of Connecticut, it's a 33% reimbursement.
Right, that's right. And it gets a little complicated, but the feds allow regional to mean 400 miles from
Yep.
Connecticut. And for the Connecticut program, we really rely on New England and New York. They're part of the Northeast region of the USDA.
Go up as far as Maine
Yes,
and down as far as New Jersey.
not New Jersey, New York.
New Jersey and New York are incorporated or
Not
not?
New Jersey. New Jersey is actually part of the Mid-Atlantic states
Okay.
under USDA, so no.
I just want to make sure that I'm getting the,
Mhm.
so we have spent 1.2 million so far of the state portion
Of the
or
federal.
of the federal portion?
Yeah.
So that leaves us 600,000 on the Fed side. We have 1.5 million on the state side. That 1.5 million, is that going to be added in? I mean, we're only in November, so we have September, October, November, 3 months, and we've spent 1.2. What will happen here?
So what districts are continuing to spend on both sides. We were front loading the federal funding because we didn't know that it would be extended until June 2026, and now it is. So we're working with districts on both ends. So that the 1.5 million is what the legislature appropriated for 2026, and then there's an additional 3.4 million in 2027 for that for the state program. The federal program will end in June.
So the state program that we have essentially takes over the total cost of the program, or what we had by adding in the federal portion and this state portion. Yes? 1.8 plus 1.5?
Yes, they're sort of happening in parallel.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
And this will, then the federal program ends at the end of this fiscal year, and the state takes on the cost here.
Yes.
Okay. The child nutrition state match,
Yep, that's USDA requires each state to provide a state match, and 2.354 is our amount that's required by the feds.
and the child nutrition state match offsets the total of federal funding in the state of Connecticut. So we would add in 159, 52, 22, 5, 21. Or what is that, the child nutrition state match, what is that
Matching.
related to?
So that's the state match is the appropriation for the state, and the way we do that is we give it out equally based on the number of lunches served by district. So it ends up turning out with that amount with 171 participating districts. It turns out to be 4.7 cents per lunch.
So that's where the state match comes in.
Correct.
It's 4.7 cents on each meal that is served,
Right, each lunch. Yep.
each lunch. Healthy Foods Initiative,
Healthy Foods Initiative is an optional program for districts to participate in. It means that any foods sold outside of the federal meals program, a la carte foods, things that are sold outside of the meal pattern, and have to comply with the state nutrition standards. Those have been in place since 2004, I believe, and get updated periodically. But each local board of education has to assure that their district is going to participate in this program, and all foods have to comply with the nutrition standards. So we do have 150 of those 171 that do participate.
can you
And-
send us that list too, please?
Sure. And that reimbursement ends up being 9 cents per lunch.
And is this on a competitive basis, or is this whatever districts opt in, the dollars are prorated out?
That's right. So they have announced before the start of the school year. So the statute requires that we provide up to 10 cents per lunch. So if you have fewer participating, they would get up to 10 cents. The more that participate, obviously the lower the per lunch
Okay.
reimbursement.
And the summer electronic benefits, the EBT program for students, is this based on the same rules that we have for EBT for SNAP? Is this a similar
It's a,
program?
it's a similar program. It's also with the Department of Social Services where we identify students who are eligible based on a number of factors, right? Eligible for free school meals. And then DSS sends us a list of all of those students. We match them in our system. And then Department of Social Services sends out the benefits. It's only June, July, and August, and it's $120 per student.
And it goes to the student themselves or to the parents?
It goes to it's mailed to the household in the child's name.
Okay. So are any of the rules that are governing SNAP this year going to impact this group of students?
No, the benefits have already been issued, and
I'm not talking about the current year. I apologize.
Oh,
I mean, for next year, are any of the rules that are going to be impacted this year? There are a number of rules that are going to downsize the number of people that are taking advantage of or getting, having the ability to use EBT. Some of those things have changed. There's an age change. There's a change relative to work requirements for the family. Are any of those rules going to impact these students here? If you know?
so I'll check with DSS, but we have not heard that next year's summer EBT program is going to be impacted.
So that's
By
something
those.
that I think that we have to look at because the rules change as of December 1st. And I think that we have to understand, is this something that we're A, wanting to continue, or B, if there's no impact, are there other students that if a family is no longer getting EBT, but the child is still getting EBT, how does that work out? Who gets the EBT card? Is this going to be impacted? There's a change relative to immigrants. There's a change relative to, there's a whole host of changes that happen here. So I'd like to understand that.
Sure. So did you?
All I was going to say is that we're working very closely, as you can imagine, with DSS and other impacted state agency as well, so that we can know specifically what is occurring, and we'll certainly keep you posted.
So Representative Walker and I have been talking about a lot of different things that we have to take care of. And this is one of those that I think that we have to pay attention to, because if there's a decrease in eligibility, but not a decrease in the need, that is something that I think that we have to understand. So I just want to make sure that that's where I'm going with my line of questioning, is relative to that.
So DSS is obviously also looking into the impact of the changes to the SNAP program. But as we look more into it, if the parents, for instance, don't meet the work requirements and are therefore off of SNAP, their children are still eligible for SNAP and will still be getting the benefit.
This benefit, the summer electronics benefit.
That's really separate. So
that's not what we're being told. Parents get something, that doesn't mean that they automatically get EBT, SNAP benefits, because of their children. They lose because of a work requirement. The family loses ultimately, because they're not going to send an EBT card to someone that is not eligible.
all right, well, I guess we'll circle up with DSS to confirm.
I think that that's something that we have to make
we need-
sure that we are all on the same page, and that is not our understanding right now. And then fresh fruit and vegetable program.
So the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program is a program that operates in 129 schools. The schools have to meet 50% free and reduced eligibility to participate, and we provide funding to provide free fresh fruits and vegetables during the school day. the minimum to participate is 50% of their students need to meet the eligibility, but
Yep.
this year, 80% of the schools participating met that
And-
requirement. They're all at 80%, all of them participating.
And you can send us the list of the schools that are eligible for this,
Sure.
please. The Child Nutrition Administration,
That's the funding that the USDA provides to us for our staff, our state level staff.
so this is for
Admin.
you to do the
Mhm.
whole, everything that was just listed.
Yes.
And so you had talked about 12 adult care and 3 emergency shelters. Where does that fit into these
That-
buckets?
That's part of the child and adult care food program. It's a
Where
great,
is, oh, that's right up here.
yeah. It's a great question because in addition, so these are the $22 million that you see for child and adult care food program. There's an additional $2 million that goes out for local child care administration for their administrative costs. And then there's a additional some monies that they get for what we refer to as cash in lieu of commodities. So
Yeah.
instead of these commodities that I talked about, they can get cash to purchase their own.
And that's 12 adult care facilities and 3 emergency shelters in the state.
Correct. In addition to there are 950 family daycare homes that participate in.
950 family daycare.
Yep.
These are exactly the kind of data that we're looking at. 950 family daycare. Go ahead.
Wait, where would that fit into the child and adult care?
Yeah.
950.
Yeah, it's all there. We can break that out for you by
Yeah, because
site and
I think that that's important for us to understand where we are. How does an adult care facility get incorporated into this?
they apply just like a childcare facility would apply, and they meet certain income thresholds, and then they're part of our
So
Reimbursement.
these aren't children that are getting this. This is adults that are getting this.
correct.
And that is put out to all adult care facilities so they know to apply for this?
Yes.
Okay.
And you also said that they get 2 million for administration. Is that part of the 22 million or is that in addition to the 22 million?
That's in addition to the 22
Okay.
million.
Is this like, are we just jumping in the rankings on that?
Yeah, if you guys can raise your hand so I can get all of you. So,
My hand is raised.
okay, thanks, Tammy. Just 1 minute.
And Matt had his hand.
And so these are things that I'm trying to get to the numbers on. And the local foods for schools incentive program is primarily local farmers in Connecticut
Yes.
that are in this. Can you get us a list of the local farmers that are participating in this program?
Sure.
Thank
Mhm.
you. So questions, I'll go back and forth now. Representative Nuccio?
I got, and Matt.
I just want to point out, Kathy, you asked way more than 2 questions. Yeah, quick question for you. You just said something for the money cash that goes out in lieu of commodities. Is there any kind of validation on what that's being spent on? Are we sure, like, how do we make sure it's being spent on food? If it's also being spent on local farms, like if it's being broken out into any kind of subset for the cash in lieu of commodities, do you track that? Do you have information on that?
Yes, we are required to review those programs every 3 years. So when we go out, we look at all of their production records, we look at their invoices, we look at their purchases, we look at all of their expenses and see where that funding is going.
And is it all on food? Like, are they able to spend it on other stuff or is it just food?
It's all meant to be spent on food.
But is it all spent on food?
I don't think we have any knowledge that it's not spent on foods. We have not.
And
Okay.
Representative Nuccio, that this federal oversight and monitoring is very rigorous to the extent that when staff go out and if we find issues of concern, we're required to retrieve those funds to take the money back from them. So there's a very rigorous oversight and review process, and our teams are out there doing this work.
Okay, that's good to know. And in relation to the money we were talking about for the summer EBT, I just want to be clear from what Kathy was saying, I've been under the impression that if the child still gets it, the child is going to get it, right? Regardless of whether or not the parent meets the work requirements, it would still be the child portion of that would still be distributed, just not the adult portion of it. And since this is going through the schools as part of the summer EBT program, you had mentioned that it's mailed directly to the households, that the children were still eligible for it. It was June, July, and August, $120 per student. Do you know where they're gathering that information? Is it from the schools? Is it from the federal databases? And, making sure that those dollars are still ending up in families there.
So for that program, first, just to clarify, there is no adult benefit there, right? So
No,
the-
I know.
Okay.
I think, but what Senator Austin was talking about was the work requirements for anybody who has now, I think, is dependent 17 or under. That's one of the new work requirements for HR 1. But I don't believe any of that affects the, like you're saying, the child portion of this. So in this case, the $120 per student that's being mailed to households, that is regardless of the work requirement at the adult level, correct? As far as you understand.
As far as I understand, yes. So again, the summer EBT ended with this summer. We don't know what's going to happen for the summer EBT next summer, but our understanding is that through conversations with DSS that the children can remain eligible for SNAP and other programs, even if the parent is deemed to be not eligible for either the non-citizen categories or for not meeting the work requirements. That there's still, it's not automatic, right? But there's an opportunity for those students continue to be eligible for free school meals, for SNAP, and therefore eligible for the some EBT benefit.
Okay, and then my last question, I think, is on the free fruits and vegetables program. You had mentioned that a school needs to be 50% free or reduced. And then I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second part. Are they directly sent funding like you had mentioned for the other healthy foods? It was 9 cents per lunch, and the child nutritional state match was 4.7 cents per lunch. So are they sent money for fresh foods and vegetables, or are they sent fresh fruits and vegetables? And is there any opportunity in your mind to bump that number up? I had heard you mention something about 80%. I didn't quite catch what that was for.
Yeah, sorry, I might have been confusing. So the minimum percentage of free and reduced kids in a district to be eligible to receive these funds, and they are funds, we send them money to be able to purchase fruits and vegetables. I can say the average percent of free and reduced for the 129 programs that get this money is 80%. So 80% of those students are eligible for free and reduced. And we send them funding so the district purchase fresh fruits and vegetables to deliver in different times of the day.
Okay, so 80% of the people that are the 129 schools that are getting it. Oh, wait, see, this is where I'm getting confused. You had mentioned 50, so now you said 80. So it's 129 schools that get this program. They must meet at least 50% free or reduced to be part of the program. What you're saying is 80% of those 129, or 129 of them, 80% of the people are free and reduced. I'm trying to kind of figure out,
Yes.
is there more opportunity for other schools here to apply for this?
Yes, so you're exactly right, the latter. So of the participating schools, each school averages at least 80% of their students are eligible for a free and reduced.
Okay.
And so your next question is about how do we get more districts to participate?
If they
That
don't
would
Thank
have-
you. Yes. Yes.
How do we do that?
I can look into it. I believe that we spread the money across all of the districts that apply, but I can confirm that.
Okay, so then people that are applying, they have to apply for this, and they will only apply if they have that. Because I'm trying to figure out, if there are other schools out there that might be at that 50% that just aren't applying to be able to get this money. And if that's the case, what do we do to get it out to them? So I think I got what I need. I think I got what I need from that. So thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
I think the puzzling part is the fact that the school student has to qualify for free and reduce, and that's a certain percentage, and that's 50%, right?
Yes.
And then of the ones that we have, 80% of them all qualify at 50%.
100% of them have students and have a percentage of students that are eligible for free and reduced is 80%.
Okay, got it.
So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
just to be clear, we don't only provide the fruits and vegetables to the kids who are eligible for free and reduced. There's no, like, once it goes into the school, everybody has access.
Okay, okay. So that.
So I
okay.
think you just prompted the other part of my question that's missing. If
No,
you're
we
saying
got that.
100% of those 129 schools are 80% or higher free or reduced, do we not have any schools that are between 50 and 80?
Yes, but 80% is the average of the schools that are participating. So you may have some at 70 and some at 90.
So that's the average number. Okay, I thought you said all of them. So, all right.
Thank you. So I think what's going to be helpful is we're going to take this table and expand it. So you'll see, for example, under Child and Adult Care Food Program, the different types of programs, numbers of programs, and back that up with the actual lists of where those programs are located. I think that's what you're asking for. So we'll drill down.
Correct.
So when we talk about CACFP, we have a sense, but you need to now know what all is included in that and the actual
Yesterday.
list. Okay.
Yesterday.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for your answers with that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Senator Lesser.
Thank you. There has been some back and forth about a provision of HR 1 that extends the SNAP work requirement and affects children in that way, or at least older folks. But there's a second part of HR 1 that I'm curious about, which is restricting the availability of SNAP funds for the LPI population. These are lawful immigrants. And I was wondering if you had any idea about whether or not that was going to affect the ability of students who are refugees, asylees, legal residents to access food in this program.
So I can only say that in working with the Department of Social Services, they are obviously assessing what the impact to SNAP recipients are, right? Our end of it is determining those SNAP recipients, if matched to students in public and private schools that are participating in the federal meals program, right? So that's our piece of it. Estimates are that those changes in eligibility based on citizenship or non-citizenship, the impact to that might be 3,000 to 5,000 people in Connecticut. That's from DSS. And so given the fact that if adults are not eligible, their children still may be eligible if they meet the citizenship categories and things like that. So we're not anticipating a huge impact to the students eligible for free and reduced price meals in Connecticut. So the other thing to know, does that make sense? Sorry.
It was the 5,000 people losing their, the 40 something thousand folks we think are losing SNAP overall because of HR 1. And of those, you said about 5,000 are immigrants. So then some percentage of those are school children. So we don't know, but so you're saying it's not a lot, but it is a number of people.
Right. Yeah. We don't know how much of that is going to impact children, right? We don't know the children of folks who are not eligible for SNAP because of citizenship. We don't know how many of those children are citizens born in this country, et cetera, who still may be eligible for SNAP. And also for families who aren't going to meet the work requirements. We don't know that. I mean, those children still will be eligible for SNAP at a reduced benefit, but we can directly certify them for school meals, those children. I mean, the other thing I just want to put out there is it's important to know that none of this is happening this school year. Like, eligibilities have been determined in September. And if you're eligible for free meals, reduced price meals in September, you maintain that throughout the school year. No one gets taken off of that for any reason. So all of these are thinking ahead toward school year 2027.
So let's talk about this year, right? So one thing that happened this Saturday is that the federal SNAP program is currently not in operation due to the shutdown. Obviously, that is a subject of ongoing back and forth in Washington, and there's litigation, and we're not sure yet what that is going to mean. But clearly, there are folks who are worried about being hungry imminently. And a lot of those are folks who are school children. So are there any plans or discussion about leveraging our existing school meals program to support those families in any way? Is that something that you're exploring or can speak to?
The school meal programs are limited in what they can provide because the funding also comes from USDA as the SNAP, but it's specific to the school meals program. So during states of emergency, like during the pandemic, the USDA allowed states to apply for waivers to do things a little bit differently. Things like you don't have to consume the meal on site. We were able to hand out meals, right? Because of the public health emergency. We were able to limit the requirements on meal components during that time based specifically on waivers that the USDA allowed states to apply for and get approval for. Those waivers are not being offered. So we don't have that opportunity to do weekend meals or second meals or hand out meals to families because that's specific to a public health emergency. Similarly, if there was a natural disaster, sometimes the USDA would say, schools are closed because of a natural disaster, use your commodity foods to feed people in the community. Those all require states to apply for waivers. And as of now, there are no opportunities to apply for that waiver. If that makes sense.
And that's USDA or US Ed or both?
USDA, this is all USDA.
And so to be clear as well, the school nutrition programs, all of the programs that we're talking about here is funded not at all from the U.S. Department of Education. This is all the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So we don't get any food-related funding from education at all. This is USDA.
So Secretary Rollins could provide you the flexibility to leverage Connecticut's school lunch programs to feed the children of the state, and she's not doing that. That is what you're saying.
No, that's not what we're saying.
No.
No, what we're letting you know what the rules are for operating the program and the conditions under which waivers are permitted to be for states to utilize. And we've not been given that ability at this point. And so that's what we're sharing with you. And before you came in, Senator, I shared that we have the resources we have from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to pay out our September claims, our October claims, and also our November claims. So the resources are flowing for those programs, including, as we mentioned, not only schools, but child and adult care food programs, so child care programs, those emergency shelters that's operating, and we're making sure that they know that these resources continue to be provided so that they can continue to serve those meals.
And thank you, Commissioner. I was listening on Zoom
Okay.
before I came in, and I did hear you say that. I'm not questioning the continuing operation of the school nutrition program. I'm wondering about the SNAP program that a lot of these folks are also, right? You know, these folks are losing their food at home at the same time they may be getting food at school. And so I'm wondering if we could do more to support families and how we, are looking for ways for us to be able to support those families out there that are struggling right now because they've lost their SNAP payments. So, is there any opportunity to give out gift cards or anything, any other ways to support families right now who are really experiencing serious food insecurity?
I mean, we just actually had the School Nutrition Association of Connecticut conference last week talking to school food service directors, and they are thinking of ways to do that. However, the schools cannot use the federal resources, even staff that are funded under the federal programs, to implement what would be considered a state program. That includes the cost of meals as well. We have a couple of districts who have been providing what they call community meals for a number of years at cost. And they've been doing that for a while. And now they're trying to raise additional monies to continue to provide those community meals in the evenings to families at no cost. But the school or the community has to raise the money to cover 100% of that cost, because as the commissioner said, when we come in 3 years, regardless of the altruistic nature of what they're doing, it's still federal money. Right now, still federal money for federal meals paid for staff and everything else with federal money. Does that make sense?
I just think we got to do something. I mean, we got an emergency right now, and this is not directed at you. It's to, if anybody else from the Office of Policy Management, the governor's office is listening. I think it's really important that we do something to address the current emergency, and I think that we are not doing enough yet. Thank you.
Can I just-
Representative
yeah,
Walker,
just
followed by
quickly.
Representative Dathan.
I hear you. We have a contract for these plans, these programs going through to June. If we did something that Senator Lesser talked about, it would put us in violation of our contracts. Is that correct? Because we are contracted to serve the sites, the 171, the 163, the 60, all those that you listed. If we took food out of that and put it to another location, we would be in violation of what we had agreed to.
That's correct. The
That's what I
commissioner attests to the fact that we're in compliance with all of
Right.
those federal regulations, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
What facilities are providing the community meals? Do you know what towns they are?
That one happens to be New London.
New London and,
New London, and there's another, I can't remember off the top of my head, but New London is,
who knows Anthony?
I've asked New London to
Who was
to meet with
Judy
us, actually
asking?
meeting with her this afternoon to talk about logistics and how she does it, because there are union staff issues versus salaried staff issues and things like that. So we're trying to get a sense of that, if that's some guidance that we can provide to districts.
And you can get us that information too. And what you said, there were 2 communities. So if you can get us the other communities so that we understand and sort of get information out to our respective communities and suggest that this is another way to deal with this. The summer EBT, and Representative Dathan has questions, but the summer EBT cards, does that go out in the child's name or does it go out in the parent's name?
Goes out in the child's name, I believe.
And is there any problem with them going to a grocery store without that child and spending that money?
I'd have to check with DSS. DSS actually issues the cards and issues the funding. We determine the eligibility and send them the list of those who need
That's-
cards.
I'm trying to get really targeted in on what we're doing because I want to make sure that how we're handling this is something that I get the different mechanisms that we're working on. Representative Dathan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation today. Just to clarify, if a town does not qualify under the community eligibility provision, saying that they don't have at least 25% free and reduced lunch, how are they able to leverage some of the federal funds to ensure that kids in that district get the foods needed?
So maybe we'll just go to that slide because we literally have a slide that we're going to try to explain.
Okay, I maybe misunderstood then.
No, we can talk about that. No, we'll just advance to slide number 14. And then we can answer the question on community eligibility provision and the eligibility, which I think is your question.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Thanks for the question. So the community eligibility provision, as you know, is this federal provision that schools or districts that have at least 25% of their student population eligible for free meals can participate in this program. The federal government takes that percentage and allows them to apply what we call a multiplier of 1.6. So the number of students or the percent of students that are eligible for free meals, only free meals, not reduced, eligible for free meals is called the identified student percentage. That percentage then gets multiplied by 1.6, and that becomes their claiming percentage. That becomes the percent of the meals that they serve paid at the free rate, which is the highest rate. So I can tell you that most of our participating CEP districts and schools are hovering around the 50% area because at the lower percentages, it's harder to break even. And so most of them are at 50%. You can see by the example on the slide that if you meet the 50% of your students are free and you opt into CEP, then 80% of the meals that are served get reimbursed by the feds at the free rate, at the $4.60 level. The rest of them get reimbursed at the paid level, which is only 40 cents.
Got it. So there is an opportunity for districts to be able to feed the people that need it that are in this category. Thank you.
We can-
Mike,
Yeah, sorry.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if they don't meet the 25%, this program allows you to choose every school in the district. It allows you to pick certain schools in the district in order to meet that 25%. So if you're not district-wide, if you're not 25%, you can look at selecting specific schools that may get you at that 25% to be then able to participate
Okay.
in the community eligibility provision.
So just to follow up, if overall the whole district does have the 50%, but certain schools do not make that 50%, where other schools, because maybe there's concentrated poverty in other places. Are we able to get it for the whole district then? And it's not based on schools, it's either or? So that the needs are hopefully getting closer to being met as a result. I mean, that's really my concern is, we do have school districts that, may not be overall, but have certain pockets where the need is really high, and I'm concerned that we're missing the need.
So if you identify, say you have 10 schools in the district and you identify 8 schools and they meet at least 25%, and you decide you want to do community eligibility provision for those 8 schools, the other 2 schools would not be able to participate. So those students, all of those students would not get free breakfast and lunch as in the CEP school. So they would be sort of what we call traditional counting and claiming of meals based on eligibility.
Okay, so they would have to get free meals through another program. It sounds like not a federal program.
Well, they still could participate in the federal program. They just wouldn't be in the community eligibility provision.
Okay. My second question really, in terms of that slide 11, where you break it out for the state, do we have any district information for that slide 11? Can you look in is it possible to look on your website to kind of see how each district, what kind of funding they get from each of these federal programs, or is that too specific?
No, absolutely. We could get numbers for each district participating.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to be clear about my district that is 100%. We've provided free meals for 100% of the students in Windham. And I think we meet this standard, but I didn't know if anything has to be broken out based on the new law in terms of how many actual students. We had determined several years ago that 100% of the students would qualify for a free lunch because it was much more book work for us to do to be able to make a few students pay when most everybody would qualify for the free and reduced lunch, or free lunch rather.
So
that's the question. Is there a new requirement to break out exactly how many students there are in my district, which right now provides 100% of the meals, and do we have to break out all the students by individual school or individual groups?
No, you don't. So if
okay,
in your district in Windham, if 100% of the students are receiving meals for free,
right,
they're part of the community eligibility provision, right?
Right. That's that. I didn't know if it had changed any.
Nothing has changed. No. So that means for Windham, at least 62.5% of your students are eligible for free meals. And again, once the district or a group of schools meets that magic number of 62.5 times 1.6, then all of the meals get reimbursed at the free rate at $4.60.
Okay. Thank you so much for the clarification. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And they do keep that status. the
Yeah.
CEP status, just so you know that they can keep it for
4 years.
4 years.
So that's an
Okay.
important piece, right? As we see that potential changes in SNAP and potential changes in Medicaid may impact a number of students who are directly certified. For the community eligibility districts, if they've set their identified student percentage now, they can keep it for 4 years. Like no
Excellent.
matter what happens in the future, no matter how many students come off, they can keep that claiming percentage. That's a federal requirement.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that additional information. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back a couple of questions. So I know we're talking school directly from SNAP programs. The SNAP program, if I don't qualify for work, then my child, because they're under 14 or 15, I think that's the new age, whatever it is, my child is eligible in the school. How does the school connect with my child to get them? There's a form that they give to the parent or the child at the beginning of the year to say, fill this out to qualify?
So that would be in a case where both the adult and the child are not eligible for SNAP.
Right, yes. Well, I mean, the child is mine and it says that I don't qualify for whatever reason, maybe employment or something like that. So if that's my child, they still qualify, but how do I know that? How do I get the forms from my child so that they qualify for the food? I'm curious how that.
So if the student still qualifies for SNAP, is that
Yeah,
the scenario?
Well, I mean, but if I don't qualify, does my child automatically qualify because of their age?
No, they only qualify because of their income or their participation in SNAP, TANF, certain Medicaid, et cetera.
Okay, so in other words, the adult has to validate that they qualify for one of those slots in order for my child to be able to get, that's what we've been.
That's correct, yeah.
That's what we
So-
have been talking
so-
about.
so this is still-
We didn't get it right, but we've been hustling back and forth trying to figure it
Right,
out.
so
So if you look at slide 12, those are, I don't know if you have that
So,
yet.
so why don't we go to the next slide and we get to slide 12, we'll go through that too.
Okay.
Because we went down the rabbit hole
Yeah,
and you might as well go to your next slide and then
Okay.
we'll figure out where we are.
All right, that's great.
So these are the eligibility categories this is how a student can be determined eligible for free or reduced price, for free meals, right? Free meals we're talking about. And this is the sort of the hierarchy of how we do it. So first thing we do when we get a name from DSS, we look at, do they have SNAP? If they don't have SNAP, we look at, do they have temporary family assistance? And then we go down the line. And then all of these, if they're on SNAP, TFA, foster youth, we get that from DCF. And then the district looks at students they've identified as experiencing homelessness, some of their students who are at Head Start. Those are all automatically, categorically eligible for free school meals. Medicaid gets a little bit complicated because we're only talking about Husky A, which is the child portion. And this is a Connecticut specific project. We applied in 2018 and got permission to use Husky to determine eligibility. So you can be on Husky A, but your income has to be below 185% of the federal poverty level. And then you're eligible for reduced price meals, or under 130% of the federal poverty level. And then you're eligible for free meals. Some families could be on Husky A and their income could be 200% and they would not be eligible for reduced price or free meals.
Mhm.
That's the big thing. Okay. So the other way in which families can be determined, so in part to your question, if a student loses SNAP and they're not eligible under any of these other programs, then yes, schools are required to provide household income applications to fill out to determine eligibility specifically based on income. And those same percentages apply. If they apply and they show their income, 185 gets them reduced price and 130% gets them free meals.
Okay.
next.
And then for summer MBT, we literally have maybe 500 kids who were not previously certified, that the fact that we determine them to be certified or eligible for summer EBT, we're going to retroactively make them eligible for school meals, free school meals and reduced price school meals.
Next.
Okay. Next. Yep, back. So again, speaking about determining eligibility for school nutrition program. Again, once a student is determined eligible for free or reduced price meals, they maintain that eligibility throughout the entire school year, regardless of what happens. In most of these certification categories, the benefits extend to everybody in the household. So if there's one child who's on SNAP, every child in the household is determined eligible for free school meals based on one child being eligible for SNAP.
So HR1 changed the age level for children down to 14 or 15, whatever it is. So you're saying that if a child's there living in that home that's 17, that they're eligible?
Yes, because the age change, the changes in age for people on SNAP with children, it's just the age of the child that determines which families need to meet the work requirements. Doesn't have to do with eligibility for that child on SNAP. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Right?
I think we're going to end up with a lot of problems with people not understanding any of this because the rules don't match up for the school SNAP rules as they do with the DSS SNAP rules. And I think that there are going to be families that are going to find that they are not qualified for this under the school program because they're not qualified for it under the DSS SNAP meal program. And I think that we're going to have some complications, and that's really what I and Representative Walker and I have been trying to figure out over the last few weeks. I do think that it may be something that comes about. I think I see where you're going, and I hope that that's what it will be, but I'm really concerned that there will be people that address this issue and say, no, you're not qualified. Because we have workers that are going to be doing this, and the workers at DSS now are going to have to do different qualifications for students, different than their families. And I think it's going to get a little bit quirky and messy.
Well,
You're already on, Commissioner.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we'll work to make sure quirky or messy is taken care of. And we speak very clearly, often with our superintendent. So maybe at some point, maybe the department and DCF, maybe we can be in the same space with you so we can be clear
Right.
on what we're saying so that we can all have clarity and our districts can as well. And we can telegraph that to families. So we're committed to making sure that that happens.
And we would like to stay in the loop on that because we all are answering questions by our constituents. And I'm not going to have a 12-year-old call me up. It's going to be a mom who calls me up and says, my child is qualified for this. I went to the grocery store, had the child's name on the EBT card. I couldn't use it because when I go, I have to give my name. And so do I bring my child in? Do they have a form of identification that they have to use? I think that this is not quite as simple as it's being presented to us. Maybe it is. I don't know. I just would really like to make sure that we are understanding this. And right now, that child might have this summer EBT maybe being put on the parent's EBT card. I don't know that they're getting two EBT cards.
And all of those have been issued. That's that program, at least for the summer. The cards have been issued. They have an expiration date. Over about 80% have been redeemed so far. So
I'm not talking about last summer. Let's disregard last summer, which is already gone by. And you have 500 children that were identified in summer EBT that are eligible for free and reduced school meals that you're uploading into the free and reduced school meals. But we are going to have significant changes in SNAP eligibility over the next 3 or 4 months, very soon. A lot of it related to HR1, not related to the shutdown. So if those changes happen and that summer EBT, those summer EBT dollars, I'd really like to understand if those summer EBT dollars were put on a different card, or are they on the same card that the family is currently getting? So when the mom or dad goes to the grocery store, wherever they go to buy their food, are they taking a card that has a deposit from their child summer EBT and them on the same card, or is it a separate card that the family gets? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can get-
I'm trying to get it.
So we will get some. of
You're
those
not, you're
answers.
turned off now. You gotta turn yourself back on.
We'll get those answers for you. I hear the question that you're asking, the clarity that you're looking for. As you notice, DSS does a big part of it. We
Right.
do a part of it, and we just need to make sure that we're clear where we.
I think, oh, I'm sorry. I think the issue is you have received the monies for this lineup that you just presented to us. So the districts have for all the federal US, for slide 11, that money has already been taken care of and it's being sent out in the increments that you said, correct? Right. You received the money, yeah.
You
Yeah.
you have received the total dollars from the federal government. You have gotten in 12 months worth of dollars.
Or you've only got 3
No,
months
no.
worth of dollars.
Right.
You've gotten September money, which was paid out in
September,
October.
November.
The October money is going to be paid out at the end of, you're actually almost on a 6-week delay because you can't put anything in until you get the numbers, right? So you can't, when you're doing this free and the school lunch program, it's not a static number of children from day 1 to how many days are you going out of school? I don't know, some
100
long.
180. 180
Some
days.
long time that you're going to school. But they're applying for the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program. They are looking at the numbers. So they submit an application for payment for the children that they have fed in September, right?
Right, they said.
And then the next application for October may be different than the application in September because those numbers are going to change because you have different children move in, different children move out, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's,
So this September.
Your microphone's off, Nefer.
So meals served in September are due to us, that application, as you've heard it, was due October 15th
For September.
of October.
Oh,
We take September, by October 15th, they submit their claim for reimbursement.
Yeah.
We take a couple of weeks to process that, and then we pay that out.
Okay.
October, meals served in October, that claim is due to us on November 15th. And then we spend the next 3 weeks or so processing that and paying that. Now, to your point, Senator Austin, there are changes because of the number of kids who are eligible in certain categories, but also November and December each only have about 17 school days, right? October has 21 school days. So the amounts we need for each month can change based on holidays and snow days and things like that,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So it's kind of a moving target. But normally, in a normal year, on October 1st, we would receive October, November, and December funding to cover those months.
Okay. So,
We're just getting it every month now. Every month, we're just getting it the additional month.
and it takes about a month after, it takes almost a full month because it's, that
I'm gonna turn her microphone off.
I know.
I can't finish my question.
Go ahead.
So the things that are on this page again, I'm gonna go back to these they've been approved for a year, but you get reimbursed. In other words, the amount that you have here for, let's say, National School Lunch Program, it's 159 million from the feds. But you're getting the monthly incremental in the rears to pay for that going forward for the rest of the year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
So the dollar amounts that you see here are the funds that were paid out last school year.
that's what I thought.
Just to give you an estimate about this is what we do. Now, again, on September 30th, we were looking at our numbers and we said, we're going to be a little bit short in September, which we always are. Like this always happens. You know, they give us a certain amount based on what we asked for last
Right.
year. If the meals go up or down, then we send in a new report every month. In September, we said we're going to be a little short in September, which always happens, and we got the money the next day.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? So that is
what-
the process is, hey, if we think we're going to be short, once the claims come in November for October, we can request additional funds, and we got that. And we just got another $25 million on Tuesday of last week. So, I mean, the USDA is continuing to provide the money flowing to support these meals.
Representative Nuccio?
Thank you. Can you please go back to the slide that showed qualifying factors, all the different ways that people are this here. Okay. Trying to think of a way to word this. For the qualification factors here, like for Medicaid and all of that, I just want to clarify, people are still applying for Medicaid, right? And if their child qualifies for Husky A and the parents qualify for Husky B, but may not meet the work eligibility of $580 a month, nothing changes for Husky A. So that Husky A information is still being processed by DSS the same way, and you're still getting the direct certification information through Medicaid or TFA or the TANF and all of the other parts here that are not impacted by HR1. All of these are still flowing through to you in the same exact manner as they would, correct?
Yes, that's correct. There's still, we get the download for SNAP and TANF every week. We do matches and we send those down to the school districts. And then we get the foster youth comes from DCF every month, and we send that down to districts. These are only new cases, right? So as I said, nobody loses their eligibility. These are new cases on SNAP, TANF, or foster youth.
And if somebody qualifies, as you mentioned before, they stay qualified for 4 years.
Students stay qualified for the year.
Correct.
Individual student eligibility is for the year.
Oh, the other piece, the school piece, is the 4-year qualification for the CEP program, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that, you know, everybody's asking a lot of questions and we just keep circling back to how we're not going to have the information or how, you know, people are going to be like, taken off the plan and that. And I just want to make sure that we have these things are stable. We have this information. We're going to continue to get this information. Husky A does not change a single bit with HR1. So we're still going to have that input. And any information that is shared, can you please share it with the ranking members also? Because it's not just Senator Austin and Representative Walker who are working on this or trying to work on it. And it would be glorious if we could all work on it together instead of being gatekept to some information to some people and not to others. So I would really like any information that is shared to be sent to the chairs and the rankings so we can share it with everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this didn't just go out to the chairs. This went out to everybody.
No,
So
not
everybody
this,
gets it.
not this. I mean, all the information that everybody's asking about and questions on who's working on what and who's not working on everything. Everybody across the board is looking at this. It would be nice if we all did it
No
together.
one's, we don't get specific information that comes just to us. I'd like to say that we get specific information that comes to Tony and I, but that's not true. We don't. It goes out to everybody. So
Well, in fairness, Kathy, you just keep saying how you and Tony are working on this. You and Tony are working on this.
she and I are working together. It's a comment between the two of us. We have been asking each other the questions.
It'd be nice if there were 4 of us in that meeting rather than just the 2 is what I'm saying. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So did you have slides that you haven't gone over yet?
I think we're done. Unless we need to go back to the community eligibility
So-
provision.
So one of my staff members, who is one of my staff members, sorry, was also making phone calls, said that the child gets a summer EBT card with their name that's distinct from the parent's regular card. The parent spends the money, not the child, because the child can't spend the money because the child is a child and can't spend the money. And that's how it works, according to what they're saying now. So that may be accurate. And I don't know exactly what will happen relative to that here. And I think that we are all curious on this to make sure that we are seeing things. Now, we're also not only do we have HR1, which made some changes. There is a thing relative to the shutdown. Everybody keeps telling me we're going to end the shutdown. We don't have to worry about anything. I've been waiting for us to end the shutdown from day one, but I don't see that happening. If the shutdown continues, are you assured of all the funds coming to you?
I cannot say we're assured of the funds coming to us. We continue to monitor and as we get that information, we're keeping certainly the OPM and the governor's office updated, but that's, we check literally just about every day to see where we are and what's coming in so far without interruptions. That's really where we are. And we're good, at least for the nutrition program, as we mentioned, we're good right now through November. The November claims that will come in that we can pay out, and we'll wait to hear from USDA and on additional funding.
So the other funding that is scheduled for the State Department of Education that you also gave us a slide on, that was talking about Title I, Title Part A, Part B, D, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Adult Basic Education, IDEA, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance, and the preschool grant. These are all guaranteed for the full year? You're going to see these checks come in to distribute to the schools?
They should be. That's for the rest of the year. That's in, and we have been drawing down uninterrupted all along.
And you don't see a problem with, because of the shutdown, which is saying they're not going to have money. So they have already said Head Start is at jeopardy next. That's been in all the news. Do you know if Head Start is something that we don't have to worry about?
I'm not familiar with Head Start. I'm familiar with those that we have on the list.
Oh.
All I can share with you, Senator, is the shutdown memo that the Secretary of Education sent to OMB, which I shared with folks, said that monies will continue to be available to the states as approved. And so that's what we're going by. And so far, there's not been any interruptions with us drawing the funds down.
So it says on slide 12, it says preschool students in Head Start. If they say tomorrow that Head Start is not something on slide 12 or whatever, it says eligibility determinations for school nutrition programs. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet down says preschool students in Head Start. Is that something that you have any knowledge of, or is that something that we would go to OEC on?
So
And I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I just want to understand it. That's all I'm trying to get.
I think in terms of understanding the impact to funding and spots for Head Start, that I would think that was an Office of Early Childhood conversation. In terms of students who are in Head Start, their eligibility for free school meals has already happened.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? I see no questions online. Is there any questions here? Thank you.
We have information that we'll be putting together and sending it over to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Sure. Thank you.
So our next agency coming before us is the Department of Aging at 12 o'clock. So You have 9 minutes to enjoy yourselves back then.
Do we have, Are we still up? Okay. Why am I getting feedback? Hello? No,
Is it yours?
mine's on.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Okay, it was Kathy. Good afternoon. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, Senator Summers, and Representative Nuccio, and members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Amy Porter, and I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Aging and Disability Services. And I am here with three of my staff, Margie Gerendo Marquette and Erin Esty from our Bureau of Aging, and Jennifer Proto, our Legislative Liaison. We're going to focus on the senior nutrition programs today, but we'll talk about some of our other programs because, as you know, they're very interconnected when we're talking about services for older adults and people with disabilities. We've had meetings with our area agencies on aging and our centers for independent living, trying to understand where they are in the process, how they're being impacted. So we'll give you an update on that today. The punchline is that we are able to continue our federal programs right now. We're doing okay at this moment. As we know, things continue to change, but you know, and the longer the shutdown is, it becomes more problematic, I think, for everybody. But we're doing okay right now, committed to making sure that our services continue, and our partners are doing a great job. We are experiencing increases in call volumes, particularly because of SNAP, but also because it's open enrollment. And when we talk to people in open enrollment, we talk about all of the issues that are coming at them. So things are continuing to evolve, but we'll get you some information, hopefully, that will help set a foundation. And I'm going to turn it over to Margie to talk about those basics and the impacts that we're seeing, and we can focus on any questions that you have.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Yeah, you have to give your full name and everything.
Sure, Margie Gerendo Marquette, and I'm the manager of the Bureau of Aging.
Thank you.
So for our slides today, we're going to start with our Bureau of Aging. It's our state's federally designated state unit on aging. We oversee federal and state programs designed to support older adults, their families, and caregivers. These include our federal Older Americans Act programs, and that's also including the Senior Nutrition Program. And we also have our Choices Program, Respite, and so many others. We also provide support to area agencies on aging. We call them AAAs, senior centers, municipal agents, and providers. And the 5 area agencies on aging are our key partners for our programs and services for older adults as required by the Older Americans Act. So the Bureau of Aging receives most of our federal funding through the Administration for Community Living. It's a division of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. These funds are then generally passed through to the state's area agencies on aging, called AAAs again. The AAAs in turn allocate the funds to community providers for services. And this slide shows the elderly nutrition providers that the AAAs contract with for the nutrition program, but then the AAAs each provide funding to dozens of other community providers as well for Older Americans Act services, and they use a competitive bid process to do that. So the recent federal government reorganization eliminated the Administration for Community Living regional administrators, the grants team, and the data and research teams. This causes delays for us when we're looking for our notices of awards. ACL is expected to move under Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families with a new agency called Administration for Children, Families, and Communities.
Wow.
So the Bureau of Aging programs are not directly affected by H.R. 1. And in the president's proposed federal fiscal year 26 budget, it flat funds all Older Americans Act programs, except the Senior Community Service Employment Program that we have is slated for elimination. However, Congress still needs to go through the federal appropriations process, which could enhance or expand other Older Americans Act programs. So that's where we are now with those. So we do have some federal funding right now. We do have notices of awards for these programs and can access funding for our Choices program, which receives state health insurance program grants and Medicare, their MIPA Medicare improvements for patients and providers grants, our Senior Community Services Employment Program, our Senior Medicare Patrol, and Congregate Housing Services Program all currently have federal funding, and they're operating under that federal funding. The federal funding that we do not have is the Older Americans Act Title III and Title VII for federal fiscal year 26. Both of these include long-term care ombudsman program funding. For the federal shutdown impact, if the shutdown continues, impacts will vary by program, by AAA region, and depend on which current funding and other resources are exhausted. We met with the area agencies on aging twice last week. They are committed to continuing services as long as possible, but with no allocation for the Older Americans Act for federal fiscal year 26 and limited cash flow, services may need to be stopped. Community providers have limited resources to continue services without payment, even if reimbursed after allocations are received. And for more on the shutdown impacts for the senior nutrition program specifically, meals are continuing right now, as the commissioner mentioned. It's temporary using federal carryover funds from federal fiscal year 25, state nutrition funds, and coronavirus state and local recovery funds. We changed how much state nutrition funds the area agencies on aging can request at this point in the year. We now allow up to 75% of their state nutrition funds to be requested by October 1st each year, and this adjustment helps bridge the gap until we receive the federal funding. Wait lists are being instituted as providers reach maximum capacity. There are about 100 people on the waiting list in the South Central and Western regions. And in the North Central region, they've reduced the number of days of service. And the other two regions are also at maximum capacity. We're not able to expand the eligibility guidelines for the nutrition program. These are Older Americans Act requirements. Some AAAs do have carryover funding. As I mentioned, it's about $1.8 million in nutrition specifically, and that will help for a period of time. But the state funding will not cover the funding gap of $18 million in all of the Older Americans Act programs. So to provide a larger picture here, the Older Americans Act funds a national network of programs for older adults to assist with independence and well-being and allow individuals to stay in the community setting of their choosing. The Older Americans Act requires a state plan on aging, which is the blueprint for the Bureau of Aging's priorities and actions over a 3-year period. And the Older Americans Act reauthorization was due in 2024, but has lapsed. However, states can still receive funding without the Older Americans Act being reauthorized. So we receive notices of award for each of the Older Americans Act titles or categories of funding. They each have a different purpose. The Older Americans Act has funding categories specifically for nutrition, and we are waiting for our federal fiscal year 26 notices of awards. So there's Title III-C, nutrition services, including home delivered and congregate meals, nutrition education and counseling. And Nutrition Services Incentive Program is another category. It's a category under the Older Americans Act that is allocated to each state based on its performance. There are other Older Americans Act funding categories. Besides nutrition, we have Title III-B, supportive services. We have Title III-D, evidence-based health promotion and disease prevention programs. Title III-E, family caregiver support program. And Title V, Senior Community Services Employment Program, Title VII, Elder Abuse Prevention Programming, and Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And again, the federal fiscal year 26 notices of awards have not yet been received for those programs. So to speak to eligibility specifically for the Senior Nutrition Program, Just explaining the program, it provides nutritionally balanced meals to older adults to reduce hunger and food insecurity, promote health and socialization, and combat social isolation. And there are two main components of the program: home delivered meals provided to homebound or isolated older adults in their homes, and congregate meals provided at sites such as senior centers or housing complexes. And note that although home delivered meals are commonly called Meals on Wheels, this name is also more broadly used by providers delivering meals who do not receive Title III funds. So we specifically call it the Home Delivered Meal Program or Senior Nutrition Program. So generally for eligibility, those eligible for home delivered meals include individuals 60 and older, and those are considered homebound as well. And generally those eligible for congregate meals include individuals 60 and older. And the eligibility again is set by the Older Americans Act. So to give you an idea of the service level data, there are about 125 congregate nutrition sites, including senior centers, housing complexes, and senior dine restaurants. Community providers must provide at least one meal per day, 5 days per week, unless it's not feasible. In federal fiscal year 2024, the last year for which full data is available, the elderly nutrition providers provided over 1.4 million home delivered meals to over 8,000 individuals and more than 400,000 congregate meals to over 12,000 individuals. And to look at the Senior Nutrition Program funding, it's primarily funded through the Older Americans Act and a matching state contribution. These funds include performance-based nutrition incentives program grant from Administration for Community Living. We also receive a social services block grant allocated from the Department of Social Services. So Title IIIC and the Nutrition Services Incentive Program funding reflects federal fiscal year 25 levels and is expected to be flat in federal fiscal year 26. And then so the SSBG funding reflects anticipated level of funding for federal fiscal year 26 based on the DSS allocation plan. We also want to mention that there's some ARPA funding. The area agencies on aging also have 1.4 million in coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds for nutrition for the time period 2024 to 2026. The balance of these funds left to be paid is $485,000. Note that 2 of the AAAs have already received their full amount of these funds already. So they were given to them to fund them through 24 to 26 as they needed them. The potential shortfall due to the shutdown for federal fiscal year 26 for nutrition funds that are still needed is about $10.3 million in federal funds that we're waiting for. And then the Older Americans Act funding is finite. Each state is allocated a specific amount of funds in each title section, and area agencies on aging and community providers must stay within their budgets. Programs must institute wait lists and or service reductions where the budget is unable to support the demand. Programs should prioritize the Older Americans Act target populations, which is individuals with the greatest economic need and the greatest social need as determined by an assessment. And for other programs and resources, the Department of Social Services Connecticut Home Care Program and SNAP are other programs that support meal and food needs. As you know, under the home care program, home delivered meals may be part of a care plan. And with SNAP, some senior nutrition program consumers also receive SNAP benefits. We have worked with the Department of Social Services to provide SNAP outreach, education, and expansion to our nutrition program populations. And AAAs and elderly nutrition providers know where to refer consumers for sign-up assistance. We continue to work with DSS on ways to share consumer information to see how we can reach eligible individuals who are not accessing SNAP. And as the Commissioner mentioned, the Area Agency on Aging Information and Referral and Assistance staff and their service navigators are referring consumers to other resources such as local food banks, and they've received an increase in calls for these things. So just as we wrap up the slides, we want to share that we have a new website. One of our goals was to make it easier to navigate and to find our ADS programs and services. And then there's specifically a nutrition page as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and we're gonna start, I'm gonna start with a couple of questions and hand it over to my co-chair. And if you want to ask any questions, please raise your hand. Thank you. First of all, on the wait list and prioritization, it says greatest economic need are individuals with income at or below federal poverty level. Are we talking 100% federal poverty level? What's the barometer for the federal poverty level in that regard? Is that 100%?
Yeah, so 100% of the federal poverty level for the greatest economic need.
Okay, all right. And going back to the senior nutrition program funding, with the fact that the Older Americans Act has not been passed, which one of these fundings on that page are we waiting for or in jeopardy?
So we're waiting for the $10.3 million for the federal fiscal year 26.
Okay, so all of the items in that column
Yes.
are things that you are waiting for.
Yes, and the figures in that column for FFY 26 are what is anticipated. We haven't been given the final numbers. We won't know until we receive the notices of award. Once the shutdown ends, we receive, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks. There's a delay these days, so it's going to take a little bit longer, probably 8 weeks or so before we receive the notices of awards. And these are the numbers that we're anticipating.
And the fact that the people that work there have all been laid off, it's going to take a while for that to get back up. Okay, got it. Senator Austin.
Thank you. So the federal, according to the federal agency reorganization, the reorganization eliminated all administration for community living, regional administrators, grant management specialists, and data and research teams. So without any of those folks there, is there anybody left?
Yes, they do have some staff left. Many of their staff are furloughed right now, but once the shutdown ends, they do have staff. They're also working with the current staff of the Administration for Children and Families, the grants office there to support them since ACL doesn't have their own grants staff.
So on the next page, it talked about plat funds, all OAA programs with one exception. The Senior Community Service Employment Program is slated for elimination. And we've also done some work requirements for seniors, increasing the age on that. Are we saying that this employment program helped people get jobs? So what program is left to help seniors get jobs?
So this is the program, this is the only program that we have that's specific for employment, and it provides the job skills training and on-the-job training and employment for folks who are 55 and older. And that's the one employment program that we have through the Bureau of Aging, and it's through Title V.
And so you don't have funding for that at all any longer?
We have funding this year through June. We have current funding, and it's in the president's proposed budget to be eliminated. So it has not been eliminated at this time.
And we don't have a budget yet.
Right.
Okay. The federal funding that we do not have under the Older Americans Act is including funding for the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Office for FY 26, which we're in right now.
Yes.
So we don't anticipate this funding at all.
Once the shutdown ends and we receive our notices of awards, that would allow us to provide the funding to the Long-Term Care Ombudsman through both Title III and Title VII of the Older Americans Act.
But right now, you don't have funding.
We don't have the federal funding for the Long-Term Care
You
Ombudsman
just have the
program.
state
Correct.
funding.
That's correct.
Can you send us what we have for state funding and what you're missing for federal funding?
Yes.
And then, when we, talk about, the nutrition programs, and you talked about the funding that you have not gotten awards for yet. Right now, Title III nutrition services, including home delivered and congregate meals, no FY26 notice of award, which started October 1st, right? As a federal fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. You have not been noticed whether or not you're going to get an award.
Right, we don't have our notices yet, correct?
That
for
is true.
26.
Thank you. And that is true of the purchase for domestically produced food also, nutrition
Correct.
services incentive program.
That's correct.
Again, this started October 1st. We're now on November 3rd. And we don't have an idea on whether or not this award is going to be received or not.
We anticipate that the Nutrition Services Incentive Program funding and the Title III-C funding will be received once we get the notices of awards. Those are anticipated, but right now we don't have those awards.
So you're
Because of
hoping
the
you
shutdown.
get it. You're hoping you're going to get it.
Yes, and every year we get those funds, it's usually under the continuing resolution. So under the shutdown, we don't get the funds until there's either a budget or the continuing resolution.
So right now people are doing the work, but they're not getting the funding for it.
So they're doing the work, and right now they're using funding from carryover federal fiscal year 25. They're using state nutrition dollars, and we were able to upfront a lot of the state nutrition dollars, 75% as of October. And they're also working with some ARPA, the state recovery funds,
Yep.
if they still have them. So that's what they're working with, and expect to be able to continue through December is what they shared with us last week, using those funds.
So they'll have funding through December using state dollars and other dollars related to state fiscal resources. But generally speaking, the federal government would be paying for these in their entirety, correct?
Right, the federal government would normally be providing the funds for the year, but to be clear, at this time during the year, we don't have the federal funds even under continuing resolution. So that's why the extra state funds are so helpful for them to have at this time, because it takes time from a continuing resolution to receive the notices of awards and then to get the funding out. So usually the October, November time is the toughest time because of how the Fed funds typically work. So to be able to get them the advanced state nutrition dollars during this time has been helpful to them.
But we don't have a continuing resolution yet at all.
Correct.
So
Correct.
tomorrow, even if we got a continuing resolution, you would not have the dollars available to you.
We would not have a notice of award, correct?
So on the other non-nutrition funding categories, there's a lot that I'm concerned with here, an awful lot. One of them is the National Family Caregiver Support Program, informal caregivers of older adults and grandparent caregivers. Notice of award not yet received. Where is that money coming from?
So for the other non-nutrition categories that you just mentioned, some of the area agencies on aging have federal fiscal year 25 funds to work with. And some, for example, for the Title III Family Caregiver Support Program, some have spent all of their federal fiscal year 25 funds and do not have funds to fund that program
So
at this time.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So are they continuing with that program, or have they stopped that program?
In those regions, they have to suspend the program until they receive the funding.
And which regions have suspended the program?
One is in the southwestern region, and I'm not sure what the other region is. I think we can find out.
She says,
Hi, Erin Esty, Program Manager at the Bureau of Aging. The South Central region is also very close to running out of funding in that category.
And
Where
where
is
are,
that?
I'm sorry, where are the other, can you, I don't need it right now. Can you get us the information that shows when those programs will be running out of funding?
Absolutely.
On each one of those from Title 3B through Title 7, elder abuse prevention. Are any of the elder abuse prevention programs out of funds?
So the Elder Abuse Prevention Program is a very small program of $50,000 that's given to $10,000 to each of the area agencies on aging. And we can double check. I believe those were spent already. And so they'll be waiting for the new funds before they continue.
So this is right now, this is a suspended program from across the board?
We can confirm for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Lesser.
Thank you. Just following up on Senator Austin's questions. My understanding is with the Older Americans Act funding that it's pass-through funding that goes first to ADS and then to the AAAs and then out to the actual providers. And in the past, the state, I think, has I don't want to use the wrong term, but fronted some money. Is that something that you would contemplate doing for the providers that have exhausted their funds? Anticipating federal reimbursement?
So, I'm sorry. So it's the state dollars, and it's mainly for the nutrition program, though, because we're able to advance them the 75% of their state nutrition dollars to so that they're able to continue the program. We don't have the state funds to continue all of these non-nutrition Older Americans Act programs.
And just being clear about I know we don't know what Congress is going to do, but the CR that passed the House that is not being acted on the Senate, did it fund all of the specific issue? Assuming something that ultimately passes resembles in some way that CR, would that resolve some of these issues? I know that the president's budget makes all those cuts that you mentioned, but the CR does not. Is that
right? Even in the president's budget, it does flat fund the programs that we have, except for the Title V Senior Community Service Employment Program. So if there is a continuing resolution, then we would anticipate that that would be most likely the flat funding that we're looking for
which is a cut, but it's not a zeroing out. Yeah. Now, we had a senior nutrition working group, and appreciate your help on that. And one of the recommendations was stronger connections between SNAP and our senior nutrition programs. And one of the issues, while this hearing was underway, we did get word that the feds are resuming partial SNAP payments in the month of November, but that is a Band-Aid. It is not a full answer, and we may be back in this position very, very soon. And so one question I had, because I know the governor's efforts last week sort of leveraged our food pantries, and one of the concerns we had were that the problem with that's helpful, but that the problem with that is that a lot of folks can't get out to a food pantry, that there are homebound individuals who are on SNAP who physically can't get there. I've been getting texts from people who couldn't get out of bed, couldn't get out. And so one of the questions that I've had, and I know others have had, is there a way to leverage our home delivered meals program to potentially surge to folks who are to look to SNAP as their main source of nutrition? Is there any capacity within the program to do that? And I know it's tough to talk about expanding when you don't have enough resources to begin with.
Right. And currently the senior nutrition program is at capacity, and with the waiting list, I think that's what's making this so hard for us. We do know that the area agencies on aging are mobilizing where they can. There's one in particular that is looking at reinvigorating their volunteer network that they had during COVID to help folks get food from the food pantry to those who are homebound. So they are looking at other ways to try to support folks in the community, in particular, those who are homebound. I think what makes this so difficult is having our current program at capacity and trying to make it through December at this point with the funding that we have. So that's the struggle.
So aside from the dollars, right? Because your dollars are your dollars, but is there any capacity? I mean, you mentioned volunteer driven, but do these organizations have if we were to supplant it with state dollars, for example, would they have the ability to get the food out? I mean, I'm not sure if they even know about these folks, if their main way of seeking nutrition is SNAP right now, if they're not even on their radar, right? Because I think these programs are pretty siloed, that's my sense. So, but would your advice be to a homebound individual that they should reach out to their local area agency on aging or their community nutrition provider to request that funding or to request home delivered meal if they're currently a SNAP person and they're worried about whether or not their SNAP will continue?
I think they can definitely reach out to, say, the area agencies on aging. They have staff who are fielding calls to try to get people to the resources. So for those programs that are open or anything that might be available to them, they're trying to connect them with those resources. So I think that is a really good option.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to just make sure again that I've written down exactly what I'm hearing is correct. So on the nutrition dollars, we're currently using state funds for that. We're advancing the state funds for that. And you said that program was at capacity. And can you just confirm you think we've got enough funding to get through the month of December currently and what we have from the state funding side?
So the area agencies on aging, when we met with them last week, estimated that they should have enough funding between the state funds, the federal carryover 25 funds, and some of the ARPA state recovery funds to get them through December with the home delivered and congregate meals.
The home delivery, so that's Meals on Wheels, like?
Yes.
And congregate meals, okay. And then for the non-nutrition funding, the only one that, now, and is it in the CR or in the budget that the Title V employment program is not accounted for? Was it, I think you said it was flat funded in the CR, correct?
So the Title V program currently has funding through June, just to be clear about that. But it is slated for elimination in the president's FFY 26 budget. So in order to continue the program starting next July and moving beyond that, it would need to be in the budget.
Okay, so, right, so, all right. And then the last question that I had in regard to the non-nutritional programs that you said, if the state were to step in to help with like partial funding for that now, and then the federal government, miraculously, people learn how to get along and pass the CR, if nothing else, and we get the money, would we then put that money back into the state? Because you would get full funding, you're not getting prorated funding, correct?
So you're talking, I'm sorry, just to be clear, you're talking about state
Yes.
funding to handle some of the gaps right now that we're seeing, say, in the Title III-E program for caregivers?
I'm looking at like these non-nutritional funding here, where we're saying we don't have a notice of award yet, right? We don't have the money to run these programs right now. If the state were to say, because, we're going back in special session and everybody's looking for ways to spend money. If we were to take this money and say, we're going to give you, something to hold you over until the government opens. When the government opens, you're going to get the full award, not a prorated piece, right? So at that point, would we then say, okay, I'm not asking you to say whether or not we would take it back, but we would have the ability at that point to say, okay, now we've got the full funding, we can put this money back where it came from, kind of thing. Basically, when you get funding, will you get full funding from the federal government, or will it somehow be prorated for the time that you've not been supplying these services?
Yes, so we would receive the full funding from the federal government. They wouldn't be looking to see what other funds and other resources were used in the meantime. We would get the full award.
Okay, so you would. So if it opened up next week, then you're gonna get the full funding. If we funded it for a month, and then you got the full funding, at that point, we could say, okay, we're gonna take the money back that we gave you to fund it for the months that you didn't have the money. We're gonna put that back where it goes because now you've got full funding. I think that's basically what I was trying to get at there. Thank you very much.
I just want to continue on that. How do you know you're going to get full funding when we've never been in this circumstance before?
So this is anticipated.
It's anticipated.
Anticipated.
That's what,
Yeah,
okay,
I
it's hope.
apologize.
It's hope.
Yes.
Okay, I
yes.
just want to,
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
yeah, because I would love to say yes, but we don't know because it's an unknown territory for us. And
Correct.
I think the whole circumstance is unknown. So we take it one day at a time.
Yes, just anticipated. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Parrish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question following up from Senator Lesser's questioning to you both not too long ago. I just need a breakdown because how is the information around the programs and status for many of the recipients of these programs? How is that information being disseminated to them? As a person with two grandmothers who can't deal with Siri or Google, and also representing a district that is rather aging and I would say seasoned, I do know that the internet is usually a barrier. I get the answer from one person, the other one has a fit. I know that that the internet and access to phone lines, what may you is a barrier. So how does that information get disseminated out so that they know what's happening in real time?
Thank you. So the community providers have contact with the participants.
Okay.
And they use a variety of ways to communicate with them. One of the things that was shared at this point is they don't want to panic anyone until they know and have more information about when services could be suspended, in which case they want to give them adequate notice. And then they have a process to do that, whether it's through their home delivered meal, whether it's calling people. They have a variety of ways. They do not rely on social media and the internet to, provide all that information to people.
And do you have data based on, for the community providers, do you have data that you can share with us that basically shows how many attempts are made to the recipients, how many people are actually receiving the phone calls, those who are falling through the cracks? Because this is unprecedented. And so I would hope that we are thinking of capturing those that are falling through the cracks and not getting that information.
Well, we hope nobody's falling through the cracks, but what we'll do what we've already started doing is communicating with the area agencies on aging. They have already been communicating with their community providers and talking to them about how the notices would occur. So that's something we can stay in touch with the area agencies on aging to make sure that everybody receives the notice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Dillon.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I want to make sure that we're getting a lot of material today, and it's really helpful, but I want to make sure that I'm getting everything straight. Would Maturity Works fall within your responsibility?
It's not under the Bureau of Aging.
It's under the Department of Labor then, I guess? I don't know. Okay.
Wait. Go ahead.
Well,
So-
because it does provide nutrition. Yes,
Trying to answer your question.
go ahead.
Hi, Erin Esty, Bureau of Aging Program Manager. Maturity Works is another senior community service employment program provider. However, they are funded under a different CSEP grant than we are. CSEP is administered by the Department of Labor and has state awardees and national awardees. So it's the same program, but not administered by us. They have a national grant that has their own guidelines and has their own award that goes directly to them.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Chair. I believe it's wiped out, but I'm not sure. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back to your wait lists. So the way the wait list is right now, it's frozen, correct? Do you have any idea how deep your wait list is for nutrition programs?
So there are 2 regions that have wait lists right now, and it's estimated to be about 100 people total. And that's for the Western region and the South Central region.
Where is the South Central? Is that
The New
Fairfield?
Haven area.
That's me. Say that again? So we have a wait list and
Yes, and one of the providers in the South Central region has a wait list, and in the Western region.
Western, okay.
And in the North Central region, they have reduced days of service. But they're all either at or reaching maximum capacity, and we do expect more wait lists.
Okay, and right now, it's about 100 people on each one of them. Okay, those 2, okay. All right. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I just have a question for clarification to Commissioner Porter. We were talking about just now about people falling through cracks of maybe being reached. Could you just explain, how do we do it during COVID? Would we not implement the same system? I'm just curious. I want to make sure no one falls through the cracks, but although it was stated this is unprecedented, it was kind of unprecedented with COVID times. So are we using the same type of system to make sure we're reaching anyone that does need the assistance?
Yeah, I think our area agencies on aging and their community providers have their own network. They have their own ways of being able to connect with people. And I agree wholeheartedly. They learned a lot from COVID. They learned what works and what doesn't work. And so we don't have the specific numbers that Representative Paris was looking for. We don't have them at this point because we're still operating under, most of these services are still operating business as usual, and we're optimistic that we will get our federal awards and they'll be able to continue their services. So I do think that they'll be able to put those, the follow-up connections in place and be able to talk with the folks that they're there to support.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just have one other question. On the awards that you have not yet received, are these, just to be clear, these are new requests for funding, or you've requested these in the past and you just haven't, because of it's because of the shutdown you have not heard, or have you gotten any kind of we're reviewing it type thing, or it's just on a hold pattern because of the shutdown? Is that clear? So that's the Title 3B, Title DE, Title 5, those that you say fiscal year 26, notice of award not yet received. If we were not in the unfortunate situation that we are in currently, would you have heard by now, or are these brand new?
So once we hear that there's a continuing resolution, we know that a notice of award is coming, and it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks for us to actually receive the notice of award. So once there's either a budget in place, which we typically don't see on October 1st, but we see a continuing resolution normally, then we know that our notices of awards for Title III and Title VII will be coming. And again, it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks. And in this case, it's probably closer to about 8 weeks. We don't have to apply for the funds. Older Americans Act funds are part of the budget. And once there is a budget or a continuing resolution, that's when we will expect the notice of awards to be coming.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just curious about the regions. Could you talk a little bit about, it says other regions that are at maximum capacity include the Eastern region. Is that all of Eastern Connecticut?
Yes, it's, I believe, 56 towns in the Eastern Connecticut region. It's a huge region.
Right,
Yes.
and that's where I am. I'm in Eastern Connecticut, and I just want to make sure that there's a distinction between our public health region and the Eastern region for these purposes. Our public health region is the North Central region, so I'm a little bit confused, just clarifying for my own purposes the fact that I'm, for this particular these programs rather, I am in the Eastern region. Is that correct?
Yeah, so and I wish we had a map here for you to show you the lines drawn for each of the area agencies on aging, but the eastern region goes all the way up to the northeastern, down to the southeastern, and includes Wyndham and Norwich. And I don't know how it lines up with the region you're speaking of, but it's a huge area.
Well, the North
And
Central
Middletown-
region, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. Go, please proceed. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So I heard Senator Lesser say Middletown, yeah, in the Middletown area as well.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like the congressional district. So the second congressional district. I just want to be clear that I'm in that eastern region for the elderly services. Thank you so much for your help. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Paris for the second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a follow-up question. I guess it's not unprecedented that we've had government shutdowns before. We haven't had one in quite some time. However, what's unprecedented is the amount of time that this government shutdown has lasted. But my major concern, in addition to what's happening right now in real time, is what happens after the shutdown ends, the government reopens, and it's going to take Americans and certainly Connecticut residents months to recover from what they've just experienced over the last month. Does your agency have a plan or best practices that you intend to put into place that will help many of the aging citizens of our state recover faster?
I think since we've been through similar things before, this is not what we've been through before exactly, but knowing how to turn around our federal allocations to the area agencies on aging, how to get our payments out to the area agencies on aging as quickly as possible, understanding the urgency of this throughout our agency, and knowing that everything has to work faster to get all of the funding out as quickly as possible. We have been through that type of situation before where we had to stand things up very quickly, and it's mobilizing all of our resources to be able to do that.
And I'm only guessing that, we never know if we're going to have this happen again. But with your permissions, Madam Chairs, I would just ask and request from the agency that you provide us with best practices and plans that you plan to put into place once the shutdown is over, and the timing of that being implemented, just so that we can see it as a structure that we can also apply to other agencies and other folks across the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking through your packet and everything, I know that each one of the agencies is required to connect with Office of Policy and Management, their contingency plan or things that they saw that were areas that they needed to worry about, or all of the things that you provided into OPM, were they included in the things here, or were there some things that you also included that are not here?
So it's a great question. Our agency is much bigger than the Bureau of Aging. So we also have the Bureau of Rehabilitation Services. We have the Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind. We have a new bureau for individuals who are deaf, blind, and hard of hearing. And we have our Disability Determination Services. So our Disability Determination Services is 100% federally funded. So while they're state employees, they are funded 100% by the federal government. The utilities, the rent, everything's paid for through the Social Security Administration. But we were able to get a commitment from the Social Security Administration just prior to the shutdown that it's up to every state to continue those services, because it is a federal state partnership. So if a state is willing, and that's what they put in their letter, if a state is willing to continue those services, they will reimburse the state for that. So that was one of the questions earlier, I think Representative Nuccio, about reimbursement. So we do have that in place for our Disability Determination Services, which is great. Secretary Beckham was able to respond very quickly to that and be able to address that need. So that was one of the most critical things in our contingency plan, because that's 100% federally funded. All of these components are in there. We're fortunate in our vocational rehabilitation programs, both at Bureau of Rehab Services and our Voc Rehab program for individuals who are blind, that we have carry forward funding that's able to sustain us right now. And we do anticipate those funds as well. So they're able to perform business as usual. So we're grateful that we're in pretty good shape, given that we're about 75% federally funded as an agency.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And so I guess there are a lot of moving parts in this, not just with yours, but
Yes.
between HR shutdown and future shutdowns and things like that. It's got to be very hard first to keep up with all the changes, but also to try and figure out what divisions or departments are going to have to be downsized, or what divisions needs more support and things like that. So I'm assuming, along with what you said you'd provide to us because of Representative Paris's question, we'd like to know also those vulnerable areas that are not directly related to the shutdown, but because of the things that are coming forward, what things you are concerned about, so that we can start to, because we roll right into session very soon. And if we don't identify them now, then we know we might sleep over it looking at other things. So it's important that we understand where you feel vulnerable and where there needs to be an attention in your budget, so that we can make sure that our older Americans feel secure in the state and what we do, because they deserve that. And also because we want to definitely prove to the rest of the nation that it's important also. So please let us know about those. Are there any other questions that anybody has today for the Aging and Disability Services? No, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
got
you
off
so much.
easy. Thank you. Have a good afternoon, and we look forward to getting all your information. Thank you.
Have a break for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah. We have
10 minutes, we'll check back.
Yeah, we'll check back because I'll go get my lunch. Okay.
Madam Administrator, are you all set for
I
us
will-
to reconvene?
I will just note that we still have a Madam Administrator, that I am Madam Clerk, not to confuse our roles here, and the great Susan Keen, but we are ready, yes.
Yes, very good. So if you could call us back to order and just let people know that we're coming back on? Okay, woohoo. Mr. Commissioner, the floor is yours for the Department of Agriculture.
Well, good afternoon and thank you for adjusting the calendar to get us in a little bit ahead of schedule. I appreciate that. And I'll give my thanks to Commissioner Giudiani as well. But just for the record, I'm Brian Hurlbert. I'm the Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, and appreciate the opportunity to talk about some of the food programs that DOAG administers and or funds, depending on the specific relationship and the program. I always like to start off with my presentations with a statement, the mission statement of the department, just to remind people that this is what we do, that we are here to foster a healthy economic, environmental, and social climate for agriculture by developing, promoting, regulating agricultural businesses, protecting agricultural and aquacultural resources, enforcing laws pertaining to domestic animals, and promoting an understanding to the state's citizenry about the value and contribution of agriculture. Just a reminder, 5,000 farms, $4 billion to the state's economy, 31,000 jobs, and 372,000 acres are worked across the state of Connecticut in agricultural production. So those are the things we think about on a day-to-day basis at the agency. To get more specific for you all, I think the most important program that I can discuss today, the one that's of the highest value in terms of state funding, is the Farmers Market Nutrition Program. FMNP services eligible WIC and senior participants with benefits to buy eligible Connecticut-grown farm products from certified farmers at farmers markets and farm stands. So we've had a number of conversations over the years when I come in for our budget review about FMNP. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do with FMNP over the past 2 years specifically. Previously, we would spend about $650,000 through the FMNP different accounts. There's a state and federal WIC account, and there's a state and federal senior account. And so we would generally have about $650,000 redeemed between all 4 of those accounts. And last year we were over $1 million. So we've done some things on our end. We moved to an electronic system. So participants have a card or can use an app, made it easier for them to use the FMNP benefits, made it easier for farmers to accept the benefits. And it allowed us, because it was a digital relationship that we established with the participants, it allowed us the opportunity to communicate a lot more frequently and push notifications and remind people that they have these benefits and let them know that there is a farmer's market in their neighborhood. Also, at the end of 2024, our first year with the cards, it was not a great season for farmers and for farmers markets. It rained many weekends, which really pushed turnout and participation at farmers markets down. So we were able to do pop-up markets and push people to senior centers or WIC offices and let them know that, hey, we're going to have a farmer here on a Tuesday from 2 to 5:30. So please stop by, use your benefits before they expire. So a great deal of work has gone into that, and you can see that result by getting over $1 million redeemed. On eligibility, so anybody who's enrolled in WIC can talk to their WIC office about their participation, their eligibility to participate. And then seniors, it's a little bit trickier because we don't have such a direct relationship with seniors across the state. But 60 years old or older, or disabled individuals who live in a community housing, congregate setting, and do not have more than 185% of the annual poverty income. So we distribute that through our senior partner organizations across the state that have other senior relationships. In WIC, obviously, we go through our WIC offices, working closely with DPH. So WIC participants receive $45 each in benefits. So if it's a mother and 2 children, that'd be $45 times 3 for the season. Each eligible senior receives $40 in benefits, and the program year runs from June 1st to November 30th. And participants can purchase fresh fruits and vegetables, cut herbs. A couple years ago, with the legislature's relationship, we were able to expand to include eggs and honey as eligible products. We had heard from the community that the people were asking for those, and we were able to do that with state funds. Limited eligibility, but at least we're getting more people, more access to more products. Where can participants use these benefits? 88 farmers markets that 217 certified farmers service. We have 12 certified farm stands, which is great because it means that an individual doesn't have to only go to the farmers market. If you work weekends and it's not a great day, on a Saturday or Sunday to go to a farmers market, we've been able to certify these farm stands, which might have better hours and more convenient hours for the individual. Then, as I mentioned previously, the pop-up markets. How do participants use their benefit? They can either download an app or use the market card, which is a debit style card. And as I mentioned, they're distributed through partner organizations or the WIC age office. And also what's nice about the card is that participants can check their balance online and have an understanding of how much money they have available. On to the next one. So far this year, we've had just under $870,000 redeemed. And that is tracking just behind. I think we're about $20,000 behind last year's total redemption. So we're still having a great year. If the program ended today, it would be the second highest program year for FMNP, which is still pretty outstanding. We might be able to get to that $1,030,000 amount that we redeemed last year. Really depends on the weather at this point. If people want to get out to the markets, if it's nice enough for them to get there. But we're very proud of how far we've taken this program over the last number of years, and that we've been able to be more flexible with farmers markets, pop-up markets, and farm stands. So very pleased on how that program has been progressing, and where we think it can continue to service people. And just a reminder that this is not only $1 million in purchasing power that's being distributed to individuals across the state, but it's $1 million of Connecticut-grown product that's being sold. So it's $1 million into the ag economy that farmers benefit from at retail prices. So they're not donating something and hoping for a tax benefit. They're not giving something away or selling it at a discount. They're getting full value for it. So it's a real meaningful piece of their business. And that's something we don't always think about when we think about the FMNP program. We tend to think about the user side, but for farmers, it's a really important program. I want to talk briefly on the SNAP Doubling, the Fresh Match and True Match programs that our partners at End Hunger Connecticut run. End Hunger has a federal grant with Fresh Match. That's your fruits and vegetables, the SNAP Doubling program. And then the state funded the True Match program, which extends the purchasing power to non-SNAP eligible items at farmers markets. And End Hunger works with 30 individual farmers markets on these programs. And for Fresh Match, they do all the reporting with USDA on their grant for that program. And for those who aren't familiar with the SNAP Doubling programs, you see the farmers market manager. You can swipe your EBT card for, say, $10. They will give you $20 in tokens or coupons that you can use to purchase items across the market. Great program. We're hoping that it's reauthorized in an upcoming farm bill because it's done a lot, not only for farmers, but for families on SNAP to double their ability to have access to great and healthy food. So that the True Match program is winding down this November. End Hunger will have gone through all of their available dollars. And we could have a conversation with them as to whether or not we should continue that or look for state funding in the future. The last program I'll touch on is the local food purchase program. This is the program that was funded by USDA, where we partnered with organizations across the state to purchase Connecticut-grown food and distribute it through their networks. So of the $6.4 million that was allocated to the state, we have just $5.6 million has been spent through 467 distribution locations, and over 150 farmers have been able to take advantage of this program. There still is about $800,000 remaining out there with different organizations. I believe 5 organizations have some balance remaining to use to continue to purchase Connecticut-grown products and distribute it. And this time of year, it's a little bit harder for them to do that. There's, limited availability, but I'm expecting that back in the spring and next summer, those dollars will go quickly. For everybody's recollection, this was the program that was planned to receive another $3.7 million from USDA, I think in February or March-ish timeframe. That was canceled. But USDA did allow us to do the no-cost extensions, which is why, even though we're after October 1st, those entities still have access to the dollars that had been distributed previously. These are the organizations across the state that we have partnered with. Brass City Harvest, the Northwest Connecticut Food Hub, and Connecticut Food Share have all used all of their available dollars. And so Vertical Church, the City of Bridgeport, Hands on Hartford, and Click in Wyndham, and then the New London Community Center all have varying amounts of funds left available to purchase food with. That concludes my planned program, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or entertain any other discussion about feeding programs and how the Department of Agriculture plays into the state's goals of making sure families across the state have access to great food.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions. The federal WIC allocation was 194,000 less than the previous allocation. Is that because we had less need, or was that just a generalized cut?
It's our assumption that it was a generalized cut, that they were keeping in touch with us with our allocation up through about July, and then they stopped communicating with us. So I don't think it was anything that we did or based on any sort of need, but they did not communicate as to why we didn't receive our final allocation.
And so it was done on a quarterly basis, and this was essentially your last quarter of the dollars, okay?
Yep.
And the federal WIC for next year, the October 1st to September 30th, that has not been allocated out at all yet?
Not yet, nope.
And that is being handled by state appropriations, as far as you know, that part of the WIC allocation?
So we have a fund balance that we're able to continue to draw from. So we are still drawing from the federal balance that we had through the end of this month.
And then the other, the farmer's market, can you send us a list of the farmer's market, all 3 types that you listed out?
Yeah, absolutely.
The farmer's market, and then the 2 other programs that are the 15 pop-up markets and the 12 certified farm stands. If we could get that, that would be great. The seniors that get $40, that's different than the WIC program, right?
Slightly different. They have access to the eggs and the honey for the seniors program. But other than that, it's the same program, just a different amount allocated.
And those that are participating in the program, the WIC participants and the senior participants, those that are eligible, do you find that they come from certain parts of the state, or more other parts of the state not pushing for these 2 programs? Do we know?
I don't know, but we can certainly find out. Certainly with WIC, we have a lot more touch, and seniors, we tend to have higher redemption historically. So we haven't looked into if there's a geography component, but certainly we can find that out for you.
Representative Walker.
Thank you, and thank you for all the information. I want to just quickly go back to the local food purchase program.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the USDA canceled 25 allocation,
Mm-hmm.
but you said that they can still draw down on it.
Yes. So we had that original $6.5 million allocation that was given to us in a lump sum. And so we contracted out and advanced the funds to the organizations. And so they can continue to use those dollars until they draw down on the current allocation. So we were able to do a no-cost extension beyond October 1st, but there won't, I'm assuming without congressional intervention, USDA will not be reauthorizing funds to states to then distribute again.
So in the presentation that you gave us today, pretty thorough, are there areas that you just did not put in or you forgot to put in or whatever that you think you need to draw our attention to?
I don't think there's anything that we forgot. We had a pretty good review internally on this, but
Okay,
but if anything else comes to mind,
okay.
yep.
And then your contracts for LFPA,
Mm-hmm.
food share is one of your contracts?
Yes. Yeah, they were. So we did RFP essentially, or an RFA, when we received the initial allocation. And the goal was that we would have geographic coverage. And, depending on the size of the organization, not everybody could process, $1 million, for instance. And so what we were able to do then was allocate a significant portion to food share, recognizing that they have economies of scale, they have a transportation and logistics network, they have the ability to do bulk purchasing for some farmers, which would be a little bit easier to manage than some of these smaller entities. But they have exhausted all the funds that we had allocated to them.
One of the things that was brought to my attention by one of my programs, it may have been Vertical Church, I'm not sure. We changed the way food is addressed when filing taxes. Did you know anything about that? I think it's in this, maybe this year, but they said that they had gotten notice that food was now going to be considered dollars in their filing. And so so the problem would be because of the fact that with 500,000, you only have to do an overview audit. So it's a basic audit. But then if you have over $1 million worth of product donated to you, so your dollars are over $1 million, that's counted as dollars. So they have to have a full-blown audit every time. We're trying to change that, especially now, because of the fact that we're going to probably be pushing a lot of people trying to, with that. But you had not heard.
No, I had not heard a change that. Was that state or federal? Do you know?
State.
Okay.
And I tried DRS. DRS referred me to DCP. And
Okay.
DCP is looking into it and they're trying to come up with a
Okay.
possibility. But keep your eye on that, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let us know because you probably have more connection with those people that are going to be
Yeah.
totally affected by that. And it worries me. So thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. We'll check out, we'll connect with DCP on that.
I'll
too.
send you the statue and everything.
Please,
You
yeah,
have it.
thank you.
Representative Dillon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your presentation. Let me lower my hand. The governor proposed using the food share network to provide a short-term benefit given the uncertainty around the accessibility of SNAP. And my office got a couple of inquiries about bonding that was allocated to your office, your department, I believe, $10 million for capacity building, and I wondered, it was my understanding that the language was problematic because it was merged with another bill of Representative Borers at the time. Would those dollars, if it were to go through our process, be available to individual food pantries for, let's say, a refrigerator or something?
Representative, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, a couple of years ago, $10 million was in the bond package for the Department of Agriculture. And the challenge was that the bond authorization and the statute didn't line up. There was a legislative task force that we participated in with a number of sister agencies. No recommendations came out of that task force. And so we have not been able to pursue it. And I don't think anybody from the legislature has pursued it either. But I think what might want to be the first best step would be to get a bunch of people in a room and determine how those dollars could be best spent. We did a food capacity or food systems capacity building grant a number of years back through the Food Policy Council, where we did things like award $25,000 to small pantries to purchase walk-in coolers or stand-up refrigerators and freezers so that they had better ability to store perishable food for a few days. It was very, very well received. We exhausted all the funds that were in the Food Policy Council budget, but that would be certainly something that we could look at as a vehicle to move that and use the Food Policy Council, which is made up of a number of organizations across state and sister agencies in order to run that grant program. But I think we need clarity from the legislature as to what those dollars should be spent on.
I want to be clear, I'm not making a claim that refrigeration is the major issue, but I do know that over the years, storage has been a real issue for some of the smaller pantries that have trusting relationships with their communities. And so I thought of the refrigeration as something that was doable within the 10 million. But thank you. We can carry that on. And for my second question is about WIC. As you know, we had issues that I think have gotten better about the gap between the senior food produce uptake and the WIC population. And I wondered whether you foresee any problems going forward, given with the changes in either with the shutdown or confusion about other programs about reaching families with young children.
We have done a much better job of increasing the WIC redemption rates over the past couple of years. And again, this Soli Card and the Soli Market program is the way we've been able to do it, by increasing communication. Our partners at the Department of Public Health, WIC offices, are great partners. We have a weekly standing meeting with them during the market season to talk about challenges, to make sure that we are close to where their users are and understanding what challenges they might be facing. So I think at the current time, I believe WIC has been sending out communications to their participants after the commitment that the governor has made to continue to fund WIC regardless of the federal shutdown. We can double check on that, but my understanding is that has gone out broad-based.
Thank you. Even the logistics of standing in line at a food bank with a 2-year-old could be very challenging. Given the gaps on SNAP. It may be fixed by the time. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I am worried about the logistics, which isn't really about the performance of our own agencies. I think it's been very impressive, but I'm worried about being able to get there with young kids.
Absolutely. And again, that's why we think the farmers market and pop-up markets, or the farm stand and pop-up markets, has been so helpful, because a farm stand might be open, 60 hours a week. And that's better flexibility for someone who's working off shifts, or it's more convenient to get there when a child is at school or in a early childhood center.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Just to I want to make sure I'm understanding all of this correctly. For the WIC number, the $194,000 less, was that a scheduled quarterly payment that we just didn't receive, or is it just like a full year budgeted amount that's going to be less?
It was the quarterly payment that we didn't receive.
Okay, and we don't know why it didn't come. Have we followed up with our delegation to see if they can figure out why it didn't come?
I believe we would have communicated through USDA, but they did not give a response.
Okay.
We can certainly follow up with the delegation and ask.
Yeah, I was going to say not to sound crazy or anything, but who do we follow up with? Like, if they just don't respond, who do we follow up with to find out if it's an expected cut that we should have, or if it's just delay in payment? And then my second question is, for the money that we're currently using, you had mentioned the reserve. Now, when the federal government passes a CR, because God forbid they actually pass a budget, but they pass a CR, and we're paid the money, will that then just go back into the reserves? Because I'm assuming we're going to get paid for what we've been fronting.
I'm not sure I follow the question, Representative. Could you please repeat it?
Sure. I thought I had heard, and it may be incorrect, that right now we're not receiving the money from WIC right now with the shutdown. So we're using our reserves to keep that program going. Is that correct?
We're using the previously funded federal allotment.
Right. Okay. So when we get the current allotment, will that money then just go back into, like, I'm assuming the previous numbers would have gone to the reserve, right?
It would go into the federal WIC account.
Yes. Okay. So we'll be clear. Like, basically we're going to be reimbursed. We're not using money that we're not going to get back, is kind of where I'm.
We haven't spent through everything that's been allocated to us yet. So I don't think we're hitting the situation that you're presenting.
Okay. All right. I thought I had heard that we were fronting the money and that, we would take it back when it was there. So if you're saying we haven't actually gone through it, we still have money left, that's
Correct.
good to know. I think that's all I had, with the exception of what Rep. Dillon was talking about with that 10 million. Is that $10 million bonding current, or the program that you mentioned, is that an older program? Is it no longer in effect? Or is that 10 million gone, or is it still available?
It never went through the bond commission. And was it 2022 or 2023? 2022. It was passed in 2022, I think, in the budget and in the implementer. So we haven't received the dollars. It hasn't gone through the bond commission, but it's still on the books.
Okay, I get it. So yeah, we get bonding in the budget, but doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it from the governor's office. Got it. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I guess I have just a couple questions. One, there was a program that might show up in the Rural Health Transformation Grant relative to container farms, not container gardens, but container farms, trying to change language. And there's also some concern over processing plants in Connecticut. Is there any update on either one of those? And how many container farms do we have that are in operation right now around the state?
So the conversation with OPM is still happening around the RHT proposal, but the container farms are still a part of that conversation. We had some conversations with them last week, ironing out some of the details in the application. So that is moving forward. I don't believe there's any processing facilities that are going to be included in that proposal. And right now, I believe we have 4 of the 8 container farms that were authorized through the Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids program up and running. We had a significant hurdle in that freight farms went bankrupt. And so two awardees had yet to receive their container. And we have been working with them on getting it installed and up and running. There's one that was up and running that as it went on hold. I think that a technical issue. And then we have one who, really unfortunate story, a young farmer is having some significant medical issues. So he has stopped running his container farm, and he's got some neighbor farmers who are helping him run the rest of his farm, but he's unfortunately not able to operate at this time. He will be up and running when he's literally back up and running. You know, I'm not too concerned about that. The ones that were delayed shipments pose just, you know, some logistical challenges to getting them connected, but we are working with the awardees. It's our goal that they will get up and running, and if not, then the funds would have to be returned to us.
And the processing facilities, Connecticut doesn't really have any robust processing facilities right now available, does it?
When you said processing, I just want to make sure that we're speaking the same language here. I immediately went to thinking about vegetable processing and not slaughter processing.
Slaughter.
But so that's why I asked.
Sorry.
No, it's those are very different things.
Yeah.
So we have a number of processing facilities that meet, you know, just under the need that we have in Connecticut. But for the most part, this entire region is short of animal processing facilities. They're very difficult to get up and running. There's zoning issues. They're very expensive. You need USDA certified inspectors in them. So there's always a need for more processing, and that wouldn't just service Connecticut farms. That would likely service, you know, regional farms even coming over from New York.
And lastly, the local food purchase program, which USDA canceled the 2025 allocation, and the dollar amount is 3.7 million. This has essentially ended the local food purchase program without that allocation.
For 3 of the 8, the other remaining still have funds available. So it's food share. Hold on one second.
But for the next year, there is no dollars.
Correct. There'll be no
next year.
Yes.
So it essentially this, while we're winding, this is a program that's winding down, and this program has helped out local farmers, and the local food purchase program is in a lot of the schools. Is it?
No, not in the schools.
Okay.
That's the local Food for Schools program through SDE. No, these go through nonprofit organizations to purchase food from farmers. And then they can either, like the New London Community Meal Center would make meals into that and serve community lunches. Somebody like WIC would collect or purchase the food and distribute it through their, you know, pantry network out in the northeast corner of the state. So that's where these dollars and where that food went through.
And the local Foods for Schools program, is that continuing?
I do not know. I haven't heard anything, but we can check with SDE.
They came earlier today.
Yeah, I bumped into Charlene in the elevator bank. She said, "Good luck."
Yeah. So I just think that we should check to make sure that Representative Walker and I, when we're looking at the next budget, what do we want to do for food distribution and food broadly? Not just SNAP, but there are a lot of food programs that help out on all ends of how we're feeding people, whether it's through schools or nonprofits, and utilizing our local farmers. So it's something that I'm interested in finding out. Don't see any other questions. Representative Walker?
No, I'm good. Okay.
Want to add anything else today?
Thank you for being flexible with the calendar. Appreciate the opportunity to get in here a little bit earlier, and good luck with the rest of the day. Thank you for your attention to these issues.
Thanks. Up. Last but not least,
Thank you for being,
Department of Public Health.
thank you for being flexible. What? Oh,
Yep.
sure. Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
We're letting Adam get,
Yeah.
get his feet underneath him.
Going back to jail, that's why. With the corporate. Corporate, different word.
I like community, activists.
I appreciate it.
Also.
Old partner, my nonprofit days. Big friend.
I had an organization when I lived with them. They won, received a lot of money. Yeah, big ring. Recording in progress.
%, state funded, 1.5%. A little bit.
Just. I know, I'm not saying anything. So we're going on to our last agency presentation with the Department of Public Health. And Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thanks for this opportunity to discuss the WIC program and the implications for Connecticut during this shutdown. We wanted to first go through a few agenda items and then open it up, obviously, to questions. Next slide. So through this presentation, you'll hear a little bit about our overview of WIC, what the administration and infrastructure of the program is, which is a 100% federally funded program, who WIC serves, the services that it provides, what participation and spend we've had so far, and the impacts of the federal government shutdown. So just as a reminder, WIC is the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children. And it is sponsored by the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, operated at DPH. This was established by the Child Nutrition Act of 1974. WIC, different than some other programs, is a discretionary program. It's not a mandatory program. What that means is that every year, Congress must appropriate funds to the program. And that is why WIC often ends up being something highlighted during these moments of budgetary discretion where we have to figure out exactly how we're going to support the program because funding is allocated on a year-to-year basis. So in terms of WIC's administration and infrastructure, DPH has a total of 22.7 FTEs who oversee and manage all of the program's administration and operations. And we serve as the liaison to the USDA FNS. DPH contracts with 9 local agencies who directly provide WIC services. So you can see on the map the 9 different local agencies that we contract with. Those 9 agencies have 22 full-time locations. They have additional part-time locations potentially in each of their regions. And this supports approximately 170 local agency staff who work in each of these 9 areas. One point I'd just like to make is that no matter where you live in the state, you can choose which WIC program you go to. So for example, if you live in one area, but your place of work is in another area identified on the map, and you want to go to an area closer to work, you can choose to do that. So you are not limited based on the geography of where you live. It's more a question of where it's easiest for the person to receive the services. Next slide. So who exactly does WIC serve? Eligible people are either pregnant, breastfeeding, or immediately postpartum. It serves infants up to their 1st birthday and children up to their 5th birthday. You may wonder, why is there this distinction between infants and children? I had the same question myself. This really relates to what types of products they would be eligible for. So obviously there are certain foods that might be more appropriate for an infant up to the 1st birthday, and other foods that would be appropriate for a child up to their 5th birthday. In WIC eligibility and offerings, it is not a strict dollar amount. It is a menu of food requirements and food eligibility, and this is really determined by the nutritional needs of the recipient. So if you see the column on eligibility on this slide, the things that make somebody eligible is that first they need to be a resident of Connecticut. Their income must be at or below 185th percentile of the federal poverty level. And then third, there must be an identified nutritional need. How is the nutritional need identified? This is through a combination of blood work, height, weight, a determination maybe of food allergies, other dietary behaviors and preferences. So there may be certain children that have identified certain things related in their history that make them more suitable to take one type of, let's say, supplement, whether it be formula or another, or whether it may be specific types of food that they need based on, let's say, their blood work. Let's say a woman is identified to be anemic. Maybe she would be eligible for certain foods that maybe somebody else would not. And so it is really an extensive nutritional assessment that helps determine what the nutritional need is and then what foods they would be eligible for. So in terms of the services that WIC provides, as I mentioned, there's a very comprehensive nutrition assessment and then follow-up education that is provided as well. It really is more than just food benefits. This is a health and nutrition program, and it offers a variety of supports to the participants, including breastfeeding education, support and access to a WIC breastfeeding peer counselor. There are additional referrals that can be made to health and social service providers. There is a monthly food benefit package that includes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy products, eggs, and more. And as I said, that package may differ if you're an infant versus a child between the ages of 1 to 5, or a woman or person who had just given childbirth. And then lastly, there's automatic enrollment in the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program, which I believe you already discussed with Commissioner Hulbert. Next slide. So to give you some perspective on the number of enrollees that we've had in WIC, we've seen a 20% increase in enrollment since 2020. And you can see that it is roughly 52,000 enrollees. These numbers are through July of this year. And what we know is that we have certainly been having active recruitment initiatives to try to increase this number. So some of this increase is intentional recruitment efforts at the state level, at the level of the local WIC agencies, media campaigns, and expanding existing partnerships that we had. In addition, there were additional flexibilities that were included in the WIC program during the COVID-19 pandemic, which have continued since then, which include hybrid appointments, which has made it easier for participants to actually meet WIC requirements and has removed the transportation barrier that prohibited some people from being able to actually access these services. Within WIC, there are two main categories of spending. The first category is around food. Food funds can be used only for participant food purchases and breast pumps, and there is a cap on the amount that we're allowed to spend in terms of breast pumps. Food expenditures are offset by formula rebates that we receive, and our current contract is with Abbott Nutrition. This is a provider of infant formula. So if you look at the various line items, the first line item for federal allocation in this year, FY 2025, of roughly $40 million was the federal food allocation number. The third line that you see in terms of rebate payments of roughly $13 million is what we get back from Abbott, which totaled together gives you the federal fiscal year, the second line item of total food expenditures. It is those two put together that result in the amount that we can actually that we've actually spent, with, in addition, the unexpended federal food funding, which is that last item of $334,000. Now, it is recommended by USDA that we come within 97% spending of the amount that we are allocated. And this year, we are at 99.2% spend, so we have come very close, as you can see. We attribute this in part to the increased participation that we've had over the several years, the increased cost of food, and increased redemptions or increased purchasing by participants within WIC. We can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the first major bucket of funding is for food. The second is for Nutrition Services Administration, or what we call NSA. You can see here that for our current, or FY 2025, the federal allocation was about $15 million. Spend forward is an amount that we can put aside 3% of our total grant purchase, or our total grant amount in any fiscal year, plus an additional 0.5% of the total grant. So the first part is only of the food grant. The 0.5% is of the total grant. Put together, this year for FY 2025, we had about $1.4 million that could be used for the development or improvements of the management information system, which is the electronic system that manages all of WIC. So that is part of what is put together for us to be able to expend on the software, the updates, whatever is necessary to really make the program functional. And you can see that we have, at this point, an anticipated closeout of about $336,000, but closeout will not officially be until February of 2026. And so we don't know if that number is going to change. It requires basically input from a number of our vendors, and we finish our audit reports to be able to come up with that final number is at the end of the year. So when you look at this second bucket of funding, the NSA that I just talked about, to break that out a little bit further, as you can see, the first two line items relate to the staff that support and actually make this program operational. That's salary, wages, and fringe benefits. The contractual amount, and that's really the 22.7 FTE that are at DPH. The contractual amount of roughly 10.7 million is what is going directly out to the 9 different agencies that we contract with in the community. So the bulk of the NSA expenditures are really going to make those programs functional in communities. And then those staff are hired locally by each of those local agencies. Next slide. So now to get specifically to the question at hand of the shutdown. So I wanted to give that backdrop because I wanted it to be clear where we are now and how we've gotten here. So the first to say is that initially, when it was clear that a shutdown was looming, we were preparing for 3 to 5 days of funding left because that was all that we were going to have. At that point, the governor made a commitment that the state would backfill any expenditures necessary for the WIC program. However, that has not been necessary for us to actually access those state funds yet. And the reason is because first, we received 2 payments from Abbott in terms of the rebates that we get from them. So that is under the food column, the 2.3 million in formula rebate. We got 2 of those payments, which has been able to help us sustain the food part of the program. Secondly, USDA released funds in the amount approximately of $4.7 million, which has us projected to have food funding through November 15th at this point. Secondly, we also received an installment from USDA of roughly $1.9 million for NSA, which is again the basically infrastructure support for our contractors, for our staff, and that is also expected to last us until roughly November 15th. One thing we can say is that we certainly have seen in these last several days more redemptions from people who are going out and utilizing their resources. So our projection of November 15th is just that. It's a projection. It's going to depend on how quickly people actually are buying food for themselves, for their children. But at this point, we have not needed to access any state funds because we've had enough in terms of installments from the federal government. In general, it takes $200,000 a day to operate WIC. And it is based on those projections that we've been able to figure out how long we will have funding to be able to last us. So with that, I will conclude our presentation and open up to any questions you might have.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions. One, the increase in the numbers, are they increases in children being born? Are they just increases in children accessing or moms and babies accessing this?
We believe that it's more related to increase in access, that more enrollments rather than just more births in that time period.
And we have identified a problem in Connecticut relative to maternal health for minority women. And does this program directly look at the problem that we have relative to that in order to start changing that trajectory?
So I'll let Marcia speak to this more, but I will say, first of all, that there is outreach in several languages. Where these WIC offices are very targeted to be able to try to increase enrollment in communities that actually need it. There are staff that are hired that are bilingual or, often from the community to be able to help do that direct outreach to make sure that people are being brought in to this program who can most benefit from it. So I will let our WIC director speak as well to see if she has additional comments.
Commissioner. So also I'm sorry, Marcia Pesolano. I'm the State WIC Director for Connecticut at DPH. It's nice to see all of you. We also did, for the media campaign, the WIC is More media campaign that we've done over the past few years, we've targeted specific communities and locations to try to increase enrollment in communities that are more socially vulnerable and ensuring that we're trying to address maternal health outcomes because we are a health and nutrition program, as the commissioner said, and that's really a priority for us is improving maternal health outcomes in addition to infant health outcomes.
So if I could just, the number of languages, so when we look at the number of languages that SDE has identified, there are 180 languages that are spoken in Connecticut schools. So I'm curious, what languages do you have a preponderance of that you're working with?
Spanish is our biggest non-English language, but we've also identified Portuguese, Polish, Mandarin, Vietnamese, Arabic, and several others that we translate all of our standard materials into. And then for the commissioner talked about hiring folks that have different languages. We've looked at like French Creole as a potential option. Trying to find professional staff is challenging for that, but we do offer language services. So we require that all of our local agencies have access to an interpretation line that they can utilize. And if specific languages are requested by our local agencies for translation of printed materials, we do that as we need to.
Thank you. Representative Walker.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation and being willing to move around a little. First of all, 185% of poverty, what is that? I wish we would use the actual numbers. I know we hide behind them, but we should just use actual numbers.
So I believe we usually translate this to a family of 4 making $55,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's listed on our website.
And that is listed on our website.
Oh, good.
That fact is listed on our website.
I don't know that many people that know the poverty levels and everything. So it's family of 4. Okay. Right now, do you have any wait lists or anything in any of your facilities where you have frozen intake for because of the fact that you're reaching a higher peak?
So we are continuing to enroll new participants.
Awesome.
Even with the shutdown, we have not stopped anything. So new participants are allowed to enroll. I don't know if I have not heard of any wait lists anywhere, but again, I'll turn it back to Marcia Pesolano if she knows anything further.
So USDA terms a wait list requires a whole process that USDA has to approve. So we technically are not implementing a wait list. We are currently serving all new participants that come in. There has been an increase in calls for service, but we do try to, like normal operations, fit people in based on their priority. We have a priority level when we set appointments. And we're continuing to do that like normal.
Okay, so the benefits end once the child is 5 years old? Okay. And the way do you get a separate card, or is this the universal EBT for any type of funding you get from federal or state?
They do get a separate card. We call it an EWIC card, but it is an EBT card. It's just a different card.
It's just it is a different card. And on the parent or the mother, it would just be the mother, is the owner of that EBT card.
So we do have families that are not, so like a father or a caregiver of a child. So it could be a foster parent, an uncle, aunt, anybody who has guardianship could be the owner of the card. We call it the head of household or card holder. Or it could be the mom who's actually on the program. So it could be either for a child.
Okay, all right. And so none of the other programs that provides subsidies for people affect your program. So everything is separate. So
That's correct.
Yeah, SNAP, that's not yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if somebody is on SNAP, some of the Medicaid enrollment or TFA, they are automatically income eligible. We call it adjunctive eligibility. So their enrollment does allow them, as long as they meet the other eligibility requirements. So that's the only real direct link.
So almost like if you become part of SNAP, then the process of registering is much more simplified because.
You don't have to prove your income, correct?
Right, okay, all right. And I guess the last question, because I ask everybody, is there something else that maybe in your program or in DPH that you think is going to be affected by the shutdown or by, well, we're talking about shutdown right now. Is anything else, because you are so federally funded, it's amazing. So are there any other areas that you are concerned about that we need to know about?
The most immediate would probably be the block grants.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and right now we has any money come through for the block grants?
Not to my knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's FY 26, we've not
I know.
seen anything of. So
Yeah.
at this point, that is what we're keeping close eyes on most.
But we do them usually earlier than October though.
No, the October 1st is when they get, October 1st is when they get their funding because that's when the federal fiscal year starts. So that's why they haven't gotten anything for that block grant yet.
Oh, okay.
And whether or not it makes it through in the continuing resolution is always up for debate. But the reason why they haven't gotten anything yet is October 1st and then November 1st, the
Right.
shutdown started and they slow walked everything relative to processing anything. So it wasn't like things went out.
Correct.
How much was your block grant? Do you remember? How much?
The dollar amounts of both block grants?
Yeah.
Nick Jakubowski, our Chief Operating Officer, is behind me.
He's got it right there.
He's looking it up. I was gonna say that there's, well, I'll wait for him to look it up because
Yeah.
I have numbers in my head, but since he's able to look it up,
Nuccio.
because there's the maternal child health block grant
Right.
and then the public health services block grant. Those are the two.
Okay, when you
And-
find it, just let us know. We'll go
Yeah.
into the next question. Go ahead, Representative Jim.
Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you may have just answered the question that I had, but I was going to ask you to please give us an idea of which block grant specifically it is that you're talking about.
Yes, so those are the two, the maternal child health block grant and the public health services block grants. Those are the two that are at DPH.
And the public health services one, that's to go fund your organization specifically, correct?
There are 17 contracts that we have with local health departments through that block grant to do community-based interventions that address issues of chronic health conditions such as falls prevention, diabetes screening, high blood pressure screening, tobacco cessation, and the like. There are several different types of programs, but there are 17 contracts that we have with local health departments through that block grant.
And the maternal block grant, what is that going to fund?
That has some community-based organizations that receive money through that as well. But a lot of it also is staff at DPH and other programs that are in the community, but we can get you more details about that. Those are some of the big items in both those block grants.
Yeah, I'd like to understand the details because like if it's the majority of it is your staff, we're going to be paying them regardless. We'll just wait to get
Yes,
the money
that's
back.
correct.
Right. So I'd like to understand exactly which programs, if any, like who's not receiving money for this is what I'd be looking to understand.
I'm sorry, was that a question?
Nope, that was just.
Okay.
my statement.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something, that's all. Representative McCarthy Behe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you to our WIC Director. My question is with respect to the funds that are available through November 15th. And just to clarify, are those funds simply for food or for food as well as the staff who help administer those? And second question to go with that is the state funds that in the unfortunate circumstances that we need to avail ourselves of those due to an extended government shutdown, would those funds be available just for food or also for the staff who help administer the program?
So in terms of the funds we have right now from the federal government, we have funding to be able to support both the staff and food through mid-November is what we're projecting at this point. The funding that the state would put forward would also support both because that is the choice of the state and that's the choice that has been put forward, that we obviously need staff to be able to support the program. So that would fund both. What we do not have clarity on is if we fund this program with state funds, would we 100% be reimbursed from that when the shutdown is over? We are still not 100% sure if we would be. So that is part of the calculation that people need to be aware of.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification and appreciate the good work that you're doing. Thank you to both Madam Chairs for today. Excellent questions and conversation today. Thank you.
Senator Lesser?
Thank you. And just following up on Representative McCarthy-Vahey's question, I appreciate that we haven't had to draw down any of the state funds yet. We don't know what's happening in Washington and whether there'll be a resolution in the next couple of weeks. I know the governor had made a commitment to continue the SNAP program in the month of October if we needed to draw down the funds. We didn't. Do you know if that commitment is still there for the last 2 weeks of November or for the foreseeable if we do go 2 weeks and find that we're out of the federal funds?
So I just want to clarify, SNAP program is under Department of Social
I
Services.
misspoke. Yes, I meant WIC.
You meant WIC, yeah.
Yes, I know the difference.
Okay.
I just misspoke. Thank you.
Okay, just
Doctor.
confirming that what I'm going to speak about is the funding as it relates to WIC.
Understood. Yes.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I do know that. Thank
And yes, we have received the commitment that we will be able to use those funds for the second half of November. And I do believe that that would get us at least a certain amount of time. But again, it might only be a week. At least at this point, what we have access to. And I think it's going to have to continue the conversation as we've been doing for the last many weeks, is reassessing at each step of the way. Because it's also possible that we get another federal installment. I don't know. And if we do, then maybe we will have the benefit where we can extend it out even further.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think we made your timeline, right?
Yes, absolutely. I will also just tell you that just in terms of funding amounts, the maternal child health block grant is about $5 million. We can certainly circle back to the block grant proposals that we had put forward earlier this summer. But I will say that it most definitely, there is a fair amount of that line item that is certainly staff at DPH, but there are also other community-based organizations. However, what I would also say is that we do have funding that has already been out the door for FY25 that is still able to be accessed at this point in time. So if that becomes more of a reality, I was answering the question on what do I worry about? Right now, it's not a short-term reality for us, but if it does become one, then we'll be sure to highlight exactly what those are. And then just on the public health services block grant, that one is about $2.5 million. So about 5 million for maternal child health and about 2.5 for the public health services.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's easier for us to ask the question and get the right answers instead of making assumptions on what the answers may be.
Absolutely. Thank you for the
Appreciate
opportunity.
all the committees, all the agencies coming before us.
Just quickly, very quickly, on your grant, your block grants, the majority of those dollars are out to contracts, correct?
There's a lot that does go towards support DPH staff as well, though. So some of it is contracts, but there is a significant portion that also is staff. There also is a state match component to some of these.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of nuance there in terms of some people are on the state component versus the federal component as well. That's just an additional layer that we have to look at. Should this become more of a reality that we have to look at?
Are we allowed to use maintenance of effort from other agencies to meet different block grants? I'm just thinking, case in point, we do, DCF does a lot of programming with the dollars with the clients in these different areas. So for TANF, we use DCF. Do you guys get to use? Because it's a large amount of money. Do you know?
That has not traditionally been something that has been done, but I would have to look back at the terms and conditions of these block grants as to whether you could do things across agencies, because maybe some states do that. I'm not aware of that, but that's not something traditionally that's been done in
Done here,
Connecticut.
Okay, yeah, I mean, with the maintenance of effort, and also many of the clients have multiple agencies that they work with, which makes it sometimes very difficult for them to quite understand what they're doing, so. But anyhow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think that's it right now. The information that we have asked for from the agencies will be coming in. We'll be sending them out to everybody. And that's where we are. Madam Clerk, is there anything else coming before the committee?
Yes, in the beginning half of December, we are working on scheduling both the fiscal accountability report,
Yep.
and that will be before December 15th, first 2 weeks there. And then we are also looking to schedule a few, well, it'll be one, but a few Medicaid waivers in that one hearing. That will
Okay.
also be the first 2 weeks of December, so.
Okay, great. So we have a couple of weeks off and then we'll be back to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Have a nice day.